Hello guys, welcome to the fiction series. Today we are gonna see, what if Naruto got harem with Nami, Wanda and Robin. Part 1. Huge shout out to Power of Magic for this story. If you want more awesome fan fiction like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, so without wasting any time let's get into the video. On the sea of the Grand Line, a small boat was moving across the sea. We find Naruto laying on the boat's floor with his hands behind his head while looking up at the clear sky. Any sign of land yet, sweetie? A young woman with short red hair asked as she came out of the ship's cabin. This was Will Vandam, Naruto's girlfriend. Nothing yet, Naruto said. How the hell are you sure if you're only looking up at the sky? I swear, you humans are idiots, a gruff voice asked as what looked like a humanoid fox came out of the ship's cabin with his tail waving about behind him. This was Kurama, formerly the nine-tailed fox. I still don't get why you're a furry now instead of sealed inside Naruto. Also technically, you're kinda human now, so watch your mouth, Will said, with a roll of her eyes. I'm not taking any lip from some electric fairy. Kurama yelled at Will. Yay, and this fairy is gonna light you up if you don't watch it. Will yelled as she made her body surge with lightning while the two of them glared at each other. Would you two please cut the crap? We need to find some land since we are almost out of supplies, Naruto said as he got up. Then use your sage crap to find some land, Kurama grumbled. You know that shit isn't gonna work since there is lots of life in the sea. And unless I know what I'm looking for, I can't track anything, Naruto said with a roll of his eyes. Then make your woman fly and try to find some land, then Kurama yelled at Naruto before he yelped from Will zapping him. But oddly enough, it barely affected Kurama. Ha! Still standing, bitch. Kurama cackled. Will gave a huff at this as she crossed her arms. Still don't like it that you can do electricity too, she grumbled. Oh, you're better with it, babe. Plus, you can fly unlike him, Naruto said with a smile. Will smiled at Naruto, glad he cheered her up. That, and you have a rakao. Kurama yelled as Will stomped on his tail, making an audible crunch. Oops, Will said with a grin, showing she didn't mean it. Naruto shook his head at this before he saw something in the distance and smiled. I spotted an island. He yelled happily. The three of them looked at the island in the distance and saw that it was covered in snow with a few mountains in a cylinder shape. It's cold, Will whined as she started to shiver as the ship got closer. Naruto pulled up a sleeve and showed a tattoo. He gave it a swipe of his thumb and made two winter coats appear. Here you go, honey, Naruto said with a smile as he handed Will one of the coats. Will smiled at him and took the coat and put it on. Hey, I need a coat too. Kurama yelled with a scowl. You have your fur, that should keep you plenty warm, Will said as she stuck her tongue out childishly. I matter too, damn it. Kurama yelled. Okay, relax. I can buy you a coat in town. How's that? Naruto asked, getting between them before a fight started. Fine. So what's the plan when we find some village? Kurama asked. Well, for now, we need to find some work. Maybe find something to do, Naruto said with a shrug. Ugh, boring. Why can't we go and be pirates? Kurama asked. Cause we're not assholes, Kurama, Naruto said with a frown. Well, two of us aren't, Will said with a smirk at Kurama. Oh, blow it out your ass. Kurama yelled at Will. Look, maybe we can find a job with them, Naruto was saying. No way. I refuse to be some stuck-up marine. Kurama yelled, shaking his head furiously. Alright already. For now, let's get to this island, and Will was saying before they spotted what looked like a massive amount of darkness shooting up from the island as their ship approached it. Naruto instantly activated his sage mode and paused as he felt a powerful aura on the island. How strong, Naruto? Will asked with a frown. Very. I'm gonna go on ahead while you two get the ship to the island and come back me up when you can, Naruto said as he jumped out of the ship and ran on the sea towards the island. Hey. I want to see how strong I am in this new body. Kurama yelled after Naruto. Help me get the ship to that island, you moron. Will yelled as she threw an oar at the humanoid fox. On the island. Naruto ran onto the island and soon arrived in a village where people were screaming in terror and running from what looked like 5 people. One was a large man who had black skin with black hair and beard. He wore a black bandana and coat which was open and allowed everyone to see his hairy chest. He had 4 other men with him. One was a large muscle man with a wrestling belt, another was a man with a cane and a top hat, while one was what looked like a sickly man on a mule that was just as sick as him, and the last one was a man with a big rifle and was wearing a monocle. Jahahaha. The large man laughed as he and the other 4 men laughed as the villagers ran in fear and terror. Hey fat ass, what's your deal? Naruto yelled at the large man as he ran at them. The large man looked at Naruto and gained an annoyed look on his face. Hey Whiskers, that's our captain, the great Blackbeard, the wrestler yelled. Captain of what? Eating. Naruto asked with a smirk as the five of them looked at him. You have quite a mouth on you, Whiskers. Let's see if you can keep up, Blackbeard said with a smirk as he made a dark aura appear around his body. Multi-shadow clone jutsu. Naruto shouted, summoning up 20 clones of himself rushing forward at the pirate. Oh, so this is your power, eh? Not bad, let's see how it measures up. Blackbeard laughed, slamming his palm to the ground. Black hole. Blackbeard shouted as the ground beneath the Uzumaki army's feet became pitch black, causing Naruto and several of his clones to jump into the air, while the rest of them found themselves being swallowed up by the ground beneath them. What the hell, Naruto muttered, before suddenly Blackbeard rears back his hand as the black smoke covers his hand. Now take this. Blackbeard shouted as he fired off the clones he had just swallowed up right at Naruto. That's not gonna work. Naruto said as he quickly dispelled the clones, creating a large cloud of smoke. Blackbeard was confused at this when he suddenly heard a noise as a large spiraling blue sphere came down, slamming into his face and causing him to cry out in shock as he was sent flying with a Rasengan rammed into his face, sending him flying away, smashing into a nearby building, causing it to crumble. Naruto landed on the ground with a smirk before suddenly the trashed remains and debris looked as though it was being swallowed up into the ground beneath them. Naruto looked on with shock as Blackbeard emerged with a massive cloud of darkness behind him. That hurt like a son of a bitch, kid. I doubt I would have survived that attack. But unfortunately for you, it's not enough to beat me. Blackbeard roared as the shadow morphed, firing off the absorbed debris at Naruto. The young shinobi moved across the field in a blur, evading the incoming chunks of wood and debris falling from the sky. Naruto skid across the ground as he looked around the scattered remains laying out around him. Black vortex. Blackbeard shouted as he held out his hand, consumed by darkness as the force of gravity began dragging Naruto towards him with great force. Naruto struggled to hold his ground as the force was causing his legs to skid over the ground as he was dragged towards the large man. The former Jinchuriki cried out in shock as he was dragged towards Blackbeard, who grabbed Naruto by the neck before smashing his fist hard into the boy's chest, causing him to cough up a small amount of blood as he was sent flying away, smashing into a building's wall. Naruto jumped out the hole, with blood down his lip and forehead, while narrowing his eyes towards Blackbeard, who laughed. Naruto charged forward at Blackbeard, performing several hand seals before unleashing a stream of lightning towards Blackbeard, causing him to cry out in pain from the assault. Lightning? Clones. What kind of fruit are you using? The wrestler asked Naruto. What fruit? Naruto asked with a raised eyebrow. This caused the five men to pause in surprise. Zahahahaha. Blackbeard laughed loudly at this. You're not from around here, are you, kid? He asked Naruto. No, I'm not. But I'm not gonna let some pirate asshole attack a village just for fun, Naruto said with a hard look. You have guts, kid. Are you interested in joining my crew? Blackbeard asked curiously. No way, I'm not interested in being some treasure-hungry shithead, Naruto growled out. Ha. You have a lot to learn about pirates, kid. But I'll tell you what, you actually amused me. So me and my crew will leave for now and leave this island alone, Blackbeard said. This made his crew look at him in surprise. You sure, Captain? Why not just kill this guy? The monocle man asked. Cause he's interesting and could get stronger. And maybe when he learns more about the real world, he may want to join us, then Blackbeard said with a smile. If you're gonna leave, then do it now. I don't want to fight and destroy any more homes here, Naruto said with a glare as he unknowingly unleashed a power he didn't know he had. Blackbeard and his crew paused at this. Zahahahaha. Kid, you get stronger. I definitely want to see what you do in this world once you have a target on your back, Blackbeard laughed as he left the area with his crew close behind. Captain, did he have the sickly man asked with wide eyes. Yay, he did. Heh, I didn't expect to meet a brat with Conqueror's hockey in paradise, Blackbeard said before he laughed as he and his crew left. You sure you want to let him get stronger, boss? The top hat man asked curiously. Well, eventually the Yonkos are gonna need replacing. Who am I to take away his chance to get stronger and be a worthy rival? Blackbeard asked with a smile as they climbed on their giant raft and sailed away. Naruto watched as the pirates left, and when he felt them actually leave the island, he fell to his knees and sighed. Damn, that guy was no joke, Naruto groaned as he panted for breath. Naruto. Will yelled out, getting Naruto's attention, making him look to the side to see Will and Kurama running over to him. Who kicked your ass, kid? Kurama asked with a surprised look on his face. Hey. I made him flee, so he didn't beat me, Naruto said before Will tackled him into a hug. Who hurt you? I'll fry him. Will yelled, making lighting appear in her hands when she saw the blood on Naruto. Some fattest named Blackbeard, Naruto said with a shrug. The pirate? Did he have a cool ship? Kurama asked with a smile. He had only 5 guys and left on a giant raft, Naruto said with a groan. "Come on, let's get you a place to rest," Will said as she put his arm around her shoulder. Kurama's ears twitched as he looked at the village and saw the villagers returning. "Looks like the locals are coming back," he said. "Do you think any of them are doctors?" Naruto asked with a wince as he stood up with Will's help. "Oh, suck it up. I may not be sealed in you anymore, but you still have a healing factor," Kurama said with a scowl. The man soon approached them. He was a large man, dressed in a green coat with armor plating on his arms and brown pants, with what looked like a shovel on his back. "Who are you?" the man asked as he turned into what looked like a bull man while people stood around them, holding various weapons. Defao. Kurama yelled as Will zapped him in the ass with a bolt of lightning. "Don't be a moron. He looks more like an ox," Will said with a growl as she helped Naruto walk over to the man. Sorry about them. They're harmless," Naruto said with a chuckle as he finally stood on his own 2 feet. "Do you think you can take me on, Tinkerbell? Then let's go." Kurama yelled at Will, pushing his forehead against hers. "You may have resistance to lightning, but I bet I can find a high enough voltage to train you," Will yelled, pushing back against him. "Let's see it, Wilma," Kurama said with a smirk. "You're dead," Will bellowed out before she tackled Kurama and they started fighting in the snow, making a big snowy dust cloud. "Well, mostly harmless," Naruto said with a sweat drop on his head. "You 3 aren't pirates?" the man asked as his animal features disappeared. "Nah, we're more like world travelers looking to make some money so we can easily travel in something better than a raft," Naruto said with a smile. Well, my name is Dalton and welcome to Drum Island. For now, we can probably help you with odd jobs. But we can't give you much since our king is gone," Dalton said as he and Naruto shook hands. "Oh geez, I'm sorry. Did that pirate kill your king?" Naruto asked with a frown. Dalton shook his head at this as he sighed. One explanation later. Naruto growled at this as his eyes slitted slightly at what he was told about the king of this kingdom. "A king who abandons his own people to save himself is no king," he said. "Yay, he's a punk ass ow, my tail," Kurama yelled as Will finished beating him up. Will stood up and dusted her hands off before walking over to Dalton. "So, if the king is gone, then who's the next person in charge?" she asked curiously. "Well, I was one of the king's most loyal soldiers and when that pirate attacked I got the villagers to safety," Dalton was saying. "Then you should be in charge," Naruto said with a smile at him, with Will nodding in agreement. Well, for now, my priority is helping the people here repair the damage," Dalton said. "We will help you, Oxman, don't worry," Will said with a grin. "Hey, I'm not some free labor," Kurama yelled as he got on his feet and cracked his neck. "You're working for food and shelter, so zip it," Will said. Fine. But I'm not staying here for good. I can't stand the cold," Kurama yelled. "I have heard that minks from the New World were strong, but I didn't know they were solid and vulgar," Dalton said with a sweat drop. "Yeah, that's Kurama alright," Will said. "Mink?" Naruto asked curiously. "Indeed. I had heard there are animal humans called the Mink tribe and they are from the New World," Dalton said. Naruto smiled at this. "You hear that, buddy? You're not alone," he said as he looked at Kurama. "Great, a tribe of foul-mouthed idiots," Will said with a sigh. "Ain't nobody like me, except me," Kurama said with a grin while thumping his chest as he was kinda glad he wasn't the only animal human in this world. A few months later. It had been a few months since Naruto, Will and Kurama had arrived on Drum Island. The villagers had easily accepted Naruto and Will. Meanwhile, they just left Kurama alone since he was a little intimidating to them. They had been keeping busy with helping out around the village. Thankfully, pirates haven't been showing up at all, but the villagers have been jumpy sometimes since they were still scared pirates would attack the island again. Naruto walked out of the inn Will and Kurama were staying in and looked around. "Morning, Mr. Uzumaki," an older man greeted Naruto with a smile. Naruto smiled and nodded at the man. "Have you seen Will and Kurama at all?" he asked. Miss Vandam is helping the villagers bring in supplies from a nearby village. And Kurama is off picking fights with the Lapans again," the older man said with a nervous chuckle. Naruto sighed at this. "Well, at least he's not trying to eat them anymore," he said, glad Kurama decided he was above eating fellow warriors. "Pirates!" a villager yelled from the front of the village, making several villagers grab some rifles and swords before running to the front of the village. Naruto frowned at this before he ran towards where the villagers were heading. When he made it to the edge of the island, he saw a small ship with a sheep's figurehead with a straw hat symbol on the mainsail and flag in what looked like a trench, with the villagers surrounding the ship while aiming their rifles at the ship. Naruto looked at the ship and saw several people on it. One was a boy with a scar under his left eye, wearing a straw hat on his head, while wearing a red shirt and blue pants with a snow coat worn over his shirt. The other was a woman who had blue hair that was done up in a ponytail. She wore a snow coat along with a pair of pants. Naruto saw that the young man with a straw hat was looking up at Dalton with a determined look. "Look, we just want a doctor for our friend. She's really sick," and the blue-haired woman was saying. "Liar." A villager yelled as he aimed his rifle at the blue-haired woman. But before he could fire, Naruto grabbed his shoulder, stopping him. "Hey, if they need help, then let them in. Dalton and I can stop them if they try anything, and I'll sick Kurama on them too," Naruto said with a smile that put everyone at ease. Dalton looked at Naruto and nodded before he looked at the villagers. "Okay everyone, you heard Naruto. Let's get our guests into the village," he said. The villagers nodded at this before they followed Dalton back to the village. Naruto looked down at the pirates and now got a look at the other pirates on the ship. One male had green hair and was carrying 3 swords that were being held by a green haramaki. The second male had blonde hair that covered one of his eyes. He also had a cigarette in his mouth. Another male had a long nose and black curly hair. Naruto also saw that there was a duck with him that had a saddle on its back. Naruto also noticed that there was a woman with short orange hair down on the ground near the man with a straw hat. "Okay you all, if you're gonna be visiting here, I want names and what you do on this ship," Naruto said with a firm tone as they all made their way up to him. The teen with a straw hat smiled brightly at Naruto. "I'm Luffy, the captain of the Straw Hats." "My name is Sanji and I'm the chef," the blonde man said as he took a puff of his cigarette. "Zoro, swordsman," the green man said. "I'm the great Captain Usopp," and the curly-haired man was saying proudly. "I'm the Captain Usopp." Luffy yelled at him. "Usopp's the sniper," Sanji said. "I'm Vivi and I'm just a passenger on their ship." "This is Karu," the blue-haired girl said, pointing at the duck who raised a wing in greeting while quacking at him. "And who's the sick one?" Naruto asked, looking at the woman Vivi was carrying. "This is Nami, the navigator," Vivi said. Naruto looked at the pirates and raised an eyebrow at them. "You guys don't have a doctor?" he asked with a disbelieving tone as he figured all crews should have a doctor. "Nope, but we'll get one. Right after finding a musician," Luffy said. "Doctor first, you rubber-brained idiot. We need to find one for Nami Swan," Sanji yelled as he kicked Luffy in the side of the head, causing his neck to stretch for a moment before snapping back into place. Naruto raised an eyebrow at this. "I'm gonna guess a devil fruit," he asked the rest of the crew. "Hehehe, yay. I ate the gum one, now I'm a rubber man," Luffy said with a large grin as he stretched his cheeks for a moment before letting them go, causing them to snap back into place. Naruto chuckled at this. "Well, follow me. You can let your navigator rest at this inn me and my friends are using," he said to them. "I'll stay here and watch the ship," Zoro said as he approached the ship. Karu quacked at this and ran over to him making a salute at Vivi. "So, you don't live in this village?" Vivi asked curiously as the others followed Naruto. "Well, for now. See, me and my 2 friends helped with some pirate attack and have been helping rebuild the village before we leave," Naruto said. "Pirate? What kind?" Luffy asked with an excited smile. "Some jackass that was attacking just for fun. Thankfully, I was able to make him leave," Naruto said. "Cool. What devil fruit power do you have?" Luffy asked with a wide grin. "No devil fruit, I'm a trained ninja," Naruto said. "A ninja, cool." Luffy and Usopp yelled excitedly with stars in their eyes. "Ninjas actually exist?" Sanji asked curiously as they entered the village. "Hey Naruto." Will yelled out as she ran over to greet them. But before Will could approach them, Sanji was instantly in front of her, his visible eye replaced with a heart as he held out a rose to her. "Ah, such a lovely red-headed beauty. Please let me bask in your beauty," Sanji said as he knelt before Will. "Sorry, I'm not interested. I already have a boyfriend," Will said with a bewildered look on her face as she had never had someone hit on her like this before. "Ah, you strike at my heart with your words," Sanji yelled as his heart eye beat quickly. "Dude, that's my girlfriend. And you get one more strike before I," Naruto was saying with a glare. "Babe, he means no harm," Will said with a chuckle at Naruto. "Ah, okay. I can tell you're a gentleman. So me and you have no problem," Sanji said with a nod at Naruto. "Who are your friends?" Will asked, looking at the rest of the group. "I'm Luffy and this is my crew. Except for Vivi, she's a princess we are help," Luffy was saying with a wide grin. "You moron." Sanji yelled as he kicked Luffy in the head. "Whoa, a princess?" Naruto asked with wide eyes as he and Will looked at Vivi. "Look, for now can we help Nami?" Vivi asked in worry as she looked at Nami over her shoulder. "Oh. Of course. Follow me," Will said as she spotted Nami and led them all inside the inn. Later. Naruto and Will were inside the inn and had gotten an explanation from Vivi about what was going on while Nami was laid on the bed. "Geez, you guys are really in trouble, huh?" Will asked with a frown as she leaned against the wall. "Yay, we keep things interesting," Usopp said with a shrug. "I don't get it though. You're pirates, but you're helping a princess save her kingdom, Naruto said. Well yay, she's our friend, Luffy said honestly. Naruto paused at this before he smiled and nodded. Are you looking for new crew members? He asked. This got various reactions from everyone. Say what, Usopp, Sanji and Vivi yelled in surprise. Luffy blinked at this before he smiled. Sure, he said with a smile. Just like that, Sanji and Usopp yelled out. Bull approached Naruto and looked at him, surprised at this. Are you sure about this? She asked him. Sure, I have a good feeling about this crew, Naruto said with a grin. Bull looked at Luffy. Okay Captain, I have a question, she said. Sure, Miss Reed, Luffy said with a grin. It's Will, Goofy Will said with a sigh. Will? That's a girl's name? Usopp asked before crying out as Sanji kicked him. My question is this. What's most important to you on your crew? Will asked with a hard look at Luffy. Huh? Going on adventures with my friends of course, Luffy said with a tilt of his head. Will looked at Luffy for a moment before she laughed. I like this guy. He has his priorities straight. She said, patting Luffy on the shoulder. So you're gonna join too? Usopp asked curiously. Will nodded at this. Where he goes, I go, she said, pointing at Naruto. Yay. Plus, we have another friend who will want to join too, Naruto said with a grin. Cool. 3 new crew members. Luffy yelled, pumping his fists in the air. Look, for now let's get Nami a doctor, Sanji said. Oh, don't worry, we know where one is. See that big castle on the mountain? Naruto said, pointing out of a window. Oh geez. Don't tell me the only doctor lives there, Usopp said, looking out the window. Afraid so, long nose, Will said. How are we gonna get Nami up there? Vivi asked in worry. It's no problem. Will, you feel up for a trip? Naruto asked. Yay, I'm sure I can make this flight pretty quick with a passenger, Will said with a smile as she stretched herself a little. You can fly? Vivi asked with wide eyes. Will smiled at this and with a burst of sparks on her back, she made what looked like fairy wings on her back. Fairy? Luffy and Usopp yelled in surprise. Not a fairy, Will said with a flat look. Babe, yell at your new crew members later and take Nami up to that doctor, Naruto said. She's gonna want payment for this. From what I've heard, she's a battle axe, Will said, walking over to Nami. We have money, so just help her, Vivi said. Will nodded at this before she picked up Nami. Who are you? Nami panted out as she woke up. The name's Will and I'm your new crewmate. So hold on, Will said before she carried Nami out of the inn and took off flying into the air towards the castle on the mountain. So cool. Luffy yelled in excitement with stars in his eyes. Okay, so while Will is busy saving your navigator, how about we go meet my other friend? Naruto asked with a smile. Cool. A new crewmate. Luffy yelled with a large smile as he held his arms in the air. Are you always this excited? Naruto asked with a chuckle. Yeah, Luffy is a bit of a simpleton, Usopp said, shaking his head slightly. And yet you follow him, Naruto said with a chuckle. This caused Sanji and Usopp to become depressed. Vivi laughed at this as that was a good joke. I don't get it, Luffy said cluelessly. It's nothing, Captain. Let's go meet up with Kurama. He's probably still training in the mountains, Naruto said as they walked out of the inn. So what's this guy like? What are his skills? Sanji asked as he lit a cigarette. Well, he's a strong fighter. And you can count on him, Naruto said with a chuckle. Suddenly, they heard a crash near some trees and saw what looked like a giant rabbit burst through the streets and crash into the snow. They then saw Kurama drop down onto the ground nearby. Woo. And that makes a 100 of you funkers I beat. Kurama yelled as he cackled madly. Please tell me that's not Kurama, Usopp stuttered out in fear at the sight of the humanoid fox. Afraid so, Naruto said with a sigh as Kurama continued to cackle in victory. He looks strong, Luffy said with a grin. Of course I'm strong. I'm Kurama, the 9-tailed fox. Kurama yelled as his tail split into 9 behind him. You a mutant? Luffy asked, seeing his tails. Kurama face planted at this while Naruto laughed. Who is this moron? Kurama yelled as he got on his feet. You said you wanted to be a pirate, so meet your new captain, Naruto said with a smile. This is a captain. He looks like an idiot, Kurama said as he looked at Luffy with a raised eyebrow. Hey. I may not be the smartest, but I can kick your ass. Luffy yelled. You wanna throw down, Straw Hat, Kurama yelled. What did you say about my hat? Luffy yelled before he wound up his arm and punched Kurama in the face before he tackled him into the snow and started to fight. Well, that's one way to meet a crewmate, Sanji said with a sweat drop. Yay. Let's hope that Will is having a better time, Naruto said with a smile. Hey, no biting. Kurama yelled at Luffy, who was biting one of his legs. I'm hearing this from a dog man, Luffy yelled. The funk you call me, rubber brain, Kurama bellowed out. Naruto sighed at this as Kurama and Luffy started to fight some more. With Will flew up the mountain and soon arrived on top before she landed at the entrance to the castle. "Hey. If there's a doctor here, I have a very sick person that needs help," Will yelled out as she carried Nami. Will soon heard someone walking towards her and soon spotted an old lady drinking from a wine bottle. She wore a pair of sunglasses on her head and had a purple tracksuit on. We don't get visitors often, girlie," the lady said. "Yeah, well, my crewmate here is sick. So I decided to fly up here to get her help," Will said as her wings fluttered for emphasis. Here, let me see her," the old woman said as she approached Will and took Nami. "Thanks, miss," Will said with a smile. "Call me Kuriha," the old woman said. Will nodded at this before she spotted something at the entrance to the castle. It looked like a small reindeer on his back legs with a pink hat that had a white X on it and its antlers poking out of the sides and brown pants. She also saw a small blue bag on its back. It was trying to peek at Will and was failing badly since the only part of him that was hiding behind the door was his eyes while the rest of his body was poking out. Will looked at the creature for a few moments and did what she thought of first. "It's so fluffy. So cute." Will yelled with a smile and hearts in her eyes before she took off flying towards the creature. "Aghhhhh." The creature screamed in terror before he turned into a reindeer and ran into the castle. "Come back. I want to be friends," Will yelled as she flew after the creature. "Well, that's a first," Kuriha said with a chuckle as she carried Nami into the castle. Later with Naruto. Naruto and the others watched as Luffy and Kurama finished fighting. "You don't know when to give up, do you, rubber boy?" Kurama panted out. "Nope," Luffy said with a grin. "Wahahaha. I like this guy. He's got spirit," Kurama yelled as he patted Luffy on the head. "This mean you will join my crew?" Luffy asked as he pushed Kurama's hand away. "Sure. If Naruto thinks your crew is worth joining, then I trust his judgment. Plus, I am getting bored of this island," Kurama said with a shrug. "Well, that didn't go like I thought it would," Usopp said. "Yay, Kurama respects someone who can throw a punch and keep getting up," Naruto said with a smile as Kurama and Luffy approached them. "So he's a meathead, like Mosshead," Sanji said as he lit a new cigarette. "And you smell like food and desperation," Kurama said with a glare at Sanji. Usopp snorted at this as he covered his mouth to muffle his laughter. Suddenly they heard yelling nearby. "What's going on?" Naruto asked Dalton, who ran by them. "Wapol is back," he yelled with a glare before heading for the village. Naruto glared at this. "Someone's gonna die," Kurama sang with a laugh. "Oh great, that moron followed us," Luffy said with a sigh. "Wait, you met this guy?" Naruto asked as they followed Dalton to the village. "Yay. That guy took a bite out of our ship," Usopp said. "Huh?" Kurama asked with a raised eyebrow. "He ate the munch fruit. He can eat anything," Dalton explained as they ran. "Wahahahaha. That's so funking stupid," Kurama cackled. "Yay, I'm with Kurama. That sounds stupid," Naruto said with a chuckle. "He has an army of soldiers ready to do his bidding," Dalton said with a scowl, pulling his shovel weapon off his back. "Oh goody, an army to beat to death," Kurama yelled with a grin, rubbing his hands together. "Is he always so bloodthirsty?" Vivi asked Naruto with a worried tone. "You should see him when he fights against those just as bloodthirsty," Naruto said. They soon arrived in the village and spotted a group of soldiers being led by an overweight man with a tin-like chin and tin-like armor. He had two men standing next to him, with one dressed like a jester with a bow and quiver full of arrows and one with an afro on his head and afros on his hands. These were Wapol and his two henchmen Chess and Kurama. "Wahahaha. Rejoice my people, your king has returned," Wapol yelled with a grin as he spread his arms. "You're no king, fat ass," Naruto yelled out. Chess glared at Naruto. "How dare you insult our king?" he yelled as he pulled out an arrow and aimed it at him. "Easily, since he fled when those pirates attacked here months ago," Naruto said with a glare. "Yay, so you can either leave in one piece or in pieces," Kurama said as he flexed his claws while electricity sparked on his hands. "Monster." Wapol, Chess and Kurama yelled out. "Oh funk," Naruto said with a sigh as he knew what was coming next. "You want a monster, I'll give you a monster," Kurama bellowed out as he charged at the army. "Save some for me," Luffy yelled happily as he ran to go back up his new crew member. "Sigh. We may as well help," Sanji said. "You stay behind me, okay?" Naruto said to Vivi as he pulled out a kunai and blocked Vivi from the view of the charging soldiers. With Will. Meanwhile, Will was doing something important. "Come on little guy, I just want to be friends," Will yelled as she spotted the reindeer creature on top of the castle roof. "Go away, human," the creature yelled as he hid behind the roof. "Your voice is so cute," Will yelled happily with a smile. "Don't think you can trick me. I'm not happy you find me cute. The creature yelled while smiling happily and dancing around. You don't know how to emote right, do ya? What's your name? Will asked as she flew closer. I know how to emote. I'm Tony Chopper, the creature yelled angrily before introducing himself happily. Will smiled at this as she flew closer. Chopper. That's a cute name, I'm Will, she said. Chopper backed up a little. Do you live in the village? He asked curiously. Well, for now. But I just joined a crew of pirates with Will was saying. You're a pirate? Do you have a ship and a pirate flag? Chopper asked with wide eyes. Oh, you're adorable. Do you like pirates? Will asked with a smile. Chopper. I need your help. Kurama yelled out before Chopper could reply. On my way, Doctrine. Chopper yelled before he turned into a reindeer and jumped down from the roof and ran into the castle. Will flew after him, and when she made it to a door, Kurama blocked her way. Sorry girlie, but me and my assistant need to focus on the other girl's treatment. So you stay here, Kurama said. Will nodded at this as she figured since she was a doctor that she should listen. Okay, you make sure she is okay, she said before she left the door and sat down against a wall. I may as well call Naruto on this snail thing Dalton gave me, Will said as she took out a transponder snail. It started to ring and soon she heard what sounded like fighting. I'm a little busy, Will. Naruto yelled out. You better not be flirting with that princess. Not without me at least. Will said with a smile and a giggle. Stay classy, Will, Naruto said. Your girlfriend is a pervert. You lucky bastard. Sanji yelled in the background. Focus, you moron. Kurama was heard yelling. What's going on, sweetie? Will asked curiously. That Wapol moron is back, but his men are pathetic, Naruto said. Be sure to break his legs, Will growled out as her hair sparked while lifting up slightly as she glared. I think you might have to, since he slipped past us somehow. And it seems that he's heading for the castle, Naruto said. Oh goody. I could use some stress relief, Will said as she smiled. Isn't that what you do every night with Naruto? Ha. Kurama yelled as he cackled. I'm gonna have you fixed, you idiot. Will bellowed into the transponder snail. Better bitches than you have tried, so nah. Kurama said. Stay safe, babe, and kick that fat hippo in the gut for me, Naruto said before he hung up. Will growled at this before she hung up and the door to the room Kurama was in opened. You okay, kid? Kurama asked curiously. Yay. We are gonna have company soon, but that's not important. How's Nami doing? Will asked as she stood up. Kurama smiled at this. She will be fine. She's up and resting now, she said. Can I talk to her? Will asked curiously as she was hoping to at least talk to the only other girl on the ship. Yay, sure. But not for long, as she needs rest, Kurama said with a nod as she let Will inside the room. Will smiled as she spotted Nami and Chopper talking. So what do you say, Chopper? Want to be our ship's doctor? Nami asked with a smile. Will smiled at this. You want to be a pirate? That's so cute. Will yelled in excitement. Ah. Please, don't chase me. Chopper yelled as he ran off again. Will and Nami laughed at this. Glad to see you're okay, Nami, Will said with a smile. Yay, thanks for bringing me here. Will, right? Nami asked curiously. Yup. I'm your newest crewmate along with my two friends, Will said with a smile as she sat down in a chair. Nami raised an eyebrow at this. That moron recruited new crewmates while I was sick? She asked in disbelief, referring to Luffy. Well, to be fair, my boyfriend asked to join once he made friends with Luffy, Will said with a smile. Boyfriend, huh? Nami asked with a smile as she kinda missed having girl talk. Hey girlies, quit jazzing my reindeer and trying to recruit him. Kurama yelled as she came inside while holding a sake bottle. Do I need permission to make friends? Nami asked with a raised eyebrow. Yay, the little cutie looks like he needs friends, Will said with a smile. Huh, so you think you can heal his heart, huh? Kurama asked as she sat down in a chair. Will and Nami frowned at this as she started to tell them Chopper's story. One explanation later. Kurama had just finished explaining Chopper's past and Nami was frowning while Will was wiping her eyes. Doctrine, Wapol is back. Chopper yelled from outside the castle. Damn it, that moron is back, Kurama said with a scowl as she got up. Stay with Nami. I'll handle this, Will said with a growl as her hair sparked with electricity as she thought about how Wapol laughed at Dr. Hirlick's death. He has a devil fruit, girlie. Are you sure you can handle this? Kurama asked curiously. Just watch me. Plus, Chopper has my back, Will said as she unfurled her wings and took off outside. She soon flew outside and saw Chopper fighting Wapol in what looked like a muscle form. Out of my way, you freak of nature. Wapol yelled as he tried to hit Chopper. The only freak is you fat tub of lard. Will yelled as she flew at him and punched him in the face with an electrical fist. Yoch. Wapol yelled as he held his face as he rolled on the ground. How dare you attack the king? Like I give a damn. Will yelled as she unleashed some electricity and started to zap the tyrant king and his 2 loyal followers. Topper, if you're gonna attack, then take the chance while they are open. Will yelled. Topper, who was in his brain point form, took aim at the 3 by putting his 2 hooves together for a moment before he transformed into a muscle form and took off running at them. He soon attacked them with his hooves. Cloven rose, he yelled out as he attacked them all. Ag. Wapol, chest Kurama and yelled out before they were sent flying. Will then charged an attack and made an electric demonic face behind her, which roared and charged at the 3 of them. And when it struck them, it exploded and sent them flying into the air, away from the island. Ha! Take that, you fat funk. Will yelled with a grin as she gave a double middle finger. We beat Wapol, Chopper said with a smile. Course we did, we're way stronger than that jackass, Will said. Do you think so? Chopper asked with wide eyes. Of course. Not only are you a doctor, but you're a cool reindeer too, with several forms, and you can fight, Will said with a smile. Don't try to suck up to me. I am unaffected by your complaints, Chopper said with a smile as he danced around. You're so cute. And I bet that Luffy would like you, Will said with a smile at the human reindeer. Chopper frowned at this. You think your crew would like me, even if I am a reindeer and have a blue nose? He asked her. Before Will could respond, she heard yelling. Will. Luffy yelled as he and the others ran over to them. Where's the fattest? I want to give him a good ass kicking. Naruto asked. Yay, nobody gets past me. Kurama yelled. Will smiled at this. It's fine. Me and my little buddy here beat him up and sent him flying, Will said as she patted Chopper on the head. The rest of the crew looked at Chopper, who was hiding badly behind Will. Meet. Luffy and Kurama yelled with smiles. Ah. Chopper yelled out as he ran away with Luffy and Kurama following him. Hey, no eating our new crewmate. Will roared out as she grew her wings and chased after them, with her fingers sparking. Crewmate? Usopp asked curiously. I'm gonna guess he's a doctor and Will likes him, Naruto said with a chuckle. With Will. Will was in the castle, where she was attempting to choke Luffy and Kurama with her hands, while shocking them. Ha! That tickles. Kurama cackled before Will slugged him in the head. What about that? Did that tickle? Will asked with a glare. No, Kurama said, muffled by the snow. And as for you. You be nice to Chopper. He helped save Nami, he can transform, and he's a doctor. Will yelled at Luffy. Huh? He's a fighter? Luffy asked. Yup, and he loves pirates and we need a doctor, Luffy Will said with a smile as she played on Luffy's simple mind. Luffy smiled at this before he spotted Chopper trying to sneak upstairs. Hey. Join my crew. Luffy yelled as he chased Chopper again. Ah. Chopper yelled in terror as he ran from Luffy. He doesn't look like a fighter to me. He looks like a wussao. Kurama yelled as he held his head in pain from Will hitting him again. You watch your mouth. He has been through a lot and I won't tolerate you bullying him. Will yelled in rage as she glared down at Kurama. Later in the day. It had been hours since everyone made their way to the castle and they were all waiting outside the castle for Nami. You didn't find him? Usopp asked Luffy, who was pouting while sitting on the ground with his arms crossed. I told you to stop chasing him, you moron, Will said with a scowl. Naruto shook his head at this as he carried Nami and placed her in a sled for when they were gonna make their way down the mountain. Nami smiled at Naruto as he placed her in the sled. Thanks, she said with a nod. No problem, Naruto said before he noticed something. Give me back the necklace, he said with a roll of his eyes. Nami paused at this before she started to giggle and took out a necklace with a green jewel on it. You're good, Naruto said with a chuckle as he took the necklace and put it back on. The crew then noticed Chopper was nearby next to a tree. Look, I appreciate you wanting me to join. But I'm a reindeer and I don't belong on the sea. But if you want, you can come back and visit, Chopper was saying. Shut up and let's go. Luffy yelled at Chopper, holding his arms up. Chopper paused at this and started to cry before he wailed and nodded as he cried tears of joy. Naruto, Will, Nami, Usopp, Sanji, Zoro and Vivi smiled at this, while Luffy laughed happily at the fact that they have a new crewmate. Everyone was getting ready to leave on the tram, which would take them down the mountain so they could leave. Pity we didn't know about this, as it would have been easier to get up instead of flying up, Will said. From what I heard, you flew me up at a quick pace. So don't worry about it, Nami said with a smile as she sat against a tree, wearing a woolly coat. What's taking so long? I'm starting to lose my patience for this waiting crap. Kurama yelled as he had his arms crossed, with one finger tapping his forearm. Before Will smacked him on the back of the head. Chopper is saying his goodbyes. So you will be patient or I'm gonna shave you bald and tie your tails in knots. Will yelled at him. Wow, she's more high maintenance than Nami, Zoro said with a chuckle. Before he ducked a kick from Sanji. Don't you dare insult the lovely and beautiful Will, Sanji growled out. That's her name. Doesn't sound real to me, Zoro said with a bored look. Will froze at this. Haha. You want to know her real name? Kurama asked with a snicker. Tell them, and we'll be having cooked fox for dinner, Will growled out, with her hand sparking. Oh, suck my beak, Kurama said with a scowl. I'm allergic to shrimp, Will shot back with a glare. You're dead, Wilma. Kurama bellowed before Will grabbed him by the throat and started to choke him. This got groans from the guys and a big laugh from Nami while Vivi blushed, surprised at how vulgar Kurama and Will were being. I don't get it, Luffy said with a tilt of his head. Maybe when you're older, I'll tell you, Naruto said with a grin, patting him on the shoulder. I'm 17, Luffy said. Yay, but mentally you're 4, Nami said with a smile. Naruto snorted at this while Luffy pouted as he folded his arms. You choke like a bitch. Kurama yelled as Will had him on the ground, still trying to choke the life out of him. Well then, I'll try bashing your head in, Will said before she began to lift his head and slam it on the ground repeatedly. Is this a theme with those two? Vivi asked with a bewildered look on her face. Yay. They are worse than Zoro and Sanji, Usopp said. Before Naruto could respond, he spotted Chopper in his full reindeer form, running at them with a sled attached to his back. Dead on quick. Chopper yelled as he ran at them. Why? Where's the fire? Naruto asked curiously. He then ducked as a mace was thrown at him by Kuriha, who was right behind Chopper, throwing weapons at him and screaming. Okay, you two idiots. Finish killing each other later, we need to go. Nami yelled at Will and Kurama, who ran over and joined everyone in getting into the sled that Chopper was pulling. The reindeer then ran onto the rope down and started to run down it, making his way down the mountain. Ho ho ho. Merry Christmas. Naruto said with a grin, causing Will and Kurama to laugh. Later. They soon made it down and are now at the docks where the Going Merry was anchored. Please tell me this isn't the ship, Kurama said with a flat tone and a sweat drop forming on his head. Yup. This is the Going Merry. Luffy said with a bright smile. This is a pirate ship. Where's the skull and bones? Kurama asked. It's on the flag and sails, Zoro said flatly as he got onto the ship and pointed at the skull and bones that was smiling and had a straw hat on it. That's supposed to make the enemy fear us. What kind of wanted crew did you rope us into? Kurama asked Naruto as he and Will carried their bags onto the ship. Oh, quit your bitching before I have you fixed, Will said with a scowl. Better bitches than you have tried, ketchup head. Kurama yelled as he jumped onto the ship. That's it. Sanji, prepare the kitchen. We're having fried fox for dinner. Will yelled as she placed her bags down before she dove at Kurama. Will, we need him around. So just settle for dyeing his fur pink again, Naruto said with a snicker. Will smirked at this before she snapped her fingers and in a spark of magic, Kurama's fur turned bright pink. Ah. Death is better than this. Kurama bellowed out. Cool. How'd you do that? Luffy asked with a wide grin. Talent, Will said with a chuckle. Ah. I forgot my backpack. Chopper yelled in a panic. Wait, you mean this? Nami asked, holding up a small blue bag. What? But how? Chopper asked as he took the bag. It was in the sled, Nami said with a smile as she realized what happened. Will also smiled. Well, looks like Kuriha knew what you were gonna do, she said as she patted Chopper on the head. Chopper nodded at this as he wiped his eyes. Okay crew, let's have a toast to celebrate our new crewmates. Luffy yelled with a bright smile. I'll go cook some food. Any requests? Sanji asked as he knew this was gonna end up being a party. Do you know how to make ramen? Naruto asked hopefully. Ramen? That's simple for a chef of my skill, Sanji said with a smile. I don't know. I have had the best, Naruto said with a grin. Oh ho, a challenge then, Sanji said with a smirk as he nodded at this challenge. Spaghetti for me please, Will said with a smile. Of course Will, ow. Sanji yelled in pain as Will zapped him with a bolt of lightning from her finger. Call me that again and I'll light you up till you're charred black. Will yelled in a rage. Noted, Sanji groaned as he went into the kitchen with his hair standing up. As they were sailing away, everyone heard cannon fire. What's happening? Are we under attack already? Vivi asked in worry. Will and Naruto looked back at Drum Island and smiled at what they saw. I don't think so, Will said as she patted Chopper on the shoulder to comfort him, who was crying tears at seeing this. Looks like everyone is saying goodbye to Chopper, Naruto said, pointing at Drum Island. Everyone else looked back and saw that the sky was covered in pink snow. Who knew snow could look halfway decent, Kurama said with a chuckle. You sure you don't want to stay here? Your fur makes you a good fit for it, Usopp said with a chuckle before he screamed as Kurama growled at him. "Woman, if you don't fix my fur, I'll make sure you never get a night with Naruto again," Kurama yelled in a rage. Bull scoffed at this. "Oh fine," she said as she snapped her fingers and Kurama's fur went back to normal. "Okay, here's the booze. Let's do this toast already," Zoro said as he brought up a barrel from below deck and brought out some mugs. "None for Chopper. He's too young," Will said with a scowl. Chopper pouted at this before Zoro passed him some juice. "Sorry kid," Zoro said with a chuckle. After everyone got their mugs out and filled them, Luffy lifted his mug high in the air. "Here's to our new crewmates. Naruto, Will, Kurama and Chopper." Luffy yelled with a wide grin. "Cheers." Everyone yelled as they knocked their mugs together before they all drank. A few days later. It was a regular day for the Straw Hat crew as they sailed on their way to Alabasta. Hungry Luffy whined as he, Usopp and Chopper sat on the rails of the ship while fishing for food. "We would have more food if you didn't raid the fridge at night like a moron," Sanji yelled as he came out from the kitchen. "I have a way where it can be locked up," Naruto said as he was doing push-ups. "Please tell me it involves cutting that rubber moron's hands off," Kurama growled from his seat on the deck of the ship. Luffy blew a raspberry at Kurama at this before he went back to fishing. "If you have a way to keep people out of the fridge, then please do it," Sanji said with a pleading look. Naruto jumped to his feet and nodded. "Okay Sanji, follow me. I can use a seal to make it so only you can open the fridge, but I need you there when I do it," he said, heading back into the kitchen. "Seals?" Nami asked Will curiously, looking up from her newspaper while lounging on her deck chair. "It's kinda like ninja magic that he can use to do all kinds of things," Will said with a shrug from her own deck chair. Nami gave a nod at this before she went back to reading the paper. "Hey, has anyone seen Karu?" Vivi asked as she came out of the girl's bedroom. "Those morons are using him as bait," Kurama said with a snicker as he jerked his thumb at Luffy, Usopp and Chopper. "What?" Vivi yelled before she stomped her way over to them with a glare on her face. "You sell out." Usopp and Chopper yelled at Kurama before Vivi smacked all three of them and pulled Karu up. "Oh, for crying out loud. Naruto can catch fish easily with his Sage Mode," Will said as she waved her hand dismissively from her own deck chair. "What is Sage Mode?" Zoro asked curiously while lifting a large dumbbell with one hand as he figured he should know something about the ninja now on the crew. "It's a technique he uses to power himself up with nature energy. It pretty much attracts animals to him, including fish," Will said. "Cool. He's a sage ninja," Luffy, Usopp and Chopper yelled in excitement. "Yeah, pretty much," Will said with a nod. Vivi looked out at the sea and saw a bunch of fog in front of them. "Nami, we've got some low visibility up ahead," Vivi shouted out. Nami looked over before she smiled. "Don't worry, it's only steam coming up," she said. "Wait, steam is coming up out of the ocean?" Kurama asked in surprise. "Yeah, it's a hot spot. That's all," Nami said with a nod as she and Will got up from their deck chairs before heading to the railing. "What's a hot spot?" Naruto asked curiously as he stepped out of the kitchen. "The hot spot is an area of the sea where magma is made. Below the steam is an undersea volcano," Nami said, causing Luffy to look over in curiosity. "There's volcanoes under the sea?" Chopper asked curiously. "Yep. In fact, there are more volcanoes under the sea than on dry land," Nami said with a nod. This caused many to look over in amazement. "So, I guess that we can't eat the steam then," Luffy said with a pout. "There'll be a brand new island over there thanks to the volcano. But the process is gonna take tens of thousands of years," Nami said. "Huh. So not everyone on this ship is a moron," Kurama said with a curious look as he didn't know this about how islands were made. "Oh, I'm sure not everyone here is that dumb," Vivi said with a smile. "They are using your duck as bait again," Kurama said with a flat tone as they entered the fog. "When we get out of this fog, I'm gonna kill you, Luffy," Vivi yelled out with a furious look on her face. "Ooh, I like this one," Will said with a grin, liking Vivi's fieriness. Naruto groaned at this as he could feel Will had a big smirk on her face even in all this fog. "Don't let her access any of your holes, princess." "Ha!" Kurama yelled as he cackled madly. Wham! As the Going Merry sailed out of the fog, everyone saw Kurama's head was embedded in the floor of the ship. "You're such a demented pervert," Will yelled at Kurama while Vivi was blushing at what Kurama said. "That's the pot calling the kettle black," Kurama's muffled reply could be heard from through the floorboards. "Okay, I got you buddy," Naruto said as he grabbed Kurama's tails and readied himself to pull him out. Guys," Usopp said, pointing at Luffy's fishing pole, which still had Karu hanging from it. Everyone but Naruto, who was still pulling Kurama out, looked and saw a man hanging onto Karu. He was wearing flamboyant ballet clothes with a swan theme, which consisted of a pink overcoat and blue medieval garments. He also wore heavy makeup while his legs were exposed, showing they were hairy. As everyone went to go and look at this, Naruto pulled on Kurama hard and with a mighty pull, he pulled Kurama loose and went flying, along with Kurama into the kitchen of the ship where Sanji was cooking. Still not lunchtime you two, Sanji said with a groan, figuring they were here to bug him for food. We're not here for that, Naruto groaned as he got up from the ground and dusted himself off. Yeah, we're not like the rubber-brained captain, Kurama said with a nod as he too got to his feet. Luffy may be a moron, but he's a good man and he's loyal to his friends, Sanji said. Yay, I read that logbook Nami made, Naruto said with a smile as he was impressed with their past adventures. Pity we didn't meet that Arlong bastard. I'd have loved to have fought him, Kurama said with a fanged grin. You think you can take on a fishman? Sanji asked curiously as he knew fishmen were hard to fight. You bet. I would kick his ass all over the Grand Line. Kurama said with a savage grin. Well, you will get a good fight with these Baroque Works guys and their leader, Sanji said as he cleaned a dish. Oh yay. That crocodile guy right? Naruto asked as he remembered reading that tidbit in the logbook. The FFT, Kurama snorted at this name. Don't let the name fool you. He's a warlord of the sea, Sanji said with a serious look. And that means what to me? Kurama asked curiously. They are pirates who are sanctioned by the world government, Sanji said as he put the dish he was cleaning on the shelf. Wait, the world government has pirates on their side? Naruto asked curiously as he didn't expect this. What a bunch of sellouts, Kurama said with a scoff as he rolled his eyes. Well, I'm sure some of them have real reasons, Naruto said as he couldn't really judge unless he knew them. I'm gonna kill you, you freak. Only Naruto can see those. Will was heard bellowing out on deck before they heard a loud smack. Oh geez. I wonder what someone did to piss her off, Naruto said with a groan. Sounds like they are having fun out there, Sanji said with a chuckle. Is it always such a madhouse on this ship? Kurama asked curiously. Pretty much, yes, Sanji said with a nod. Good. At least it won't be boring, Kurama said with a chuckle. Naruto nodded at this as he smiled. So there is no food left? He asked Sanji curiously. Well, we have some things for stew. But not a lot and we are completely out of meat thanks to Luffy, Usopp and Chopper, Sanji said with a frown. Naruto nodded at this. Okay, I'll head outside and catch some fish, he said as he headed for the door. Right behind you. I want to know who pissed Will off and maybe congratulate them, Kurama said with a snicker as he followed, with Sanji behind them. As they went outside, they saw a ship sailing past them and Will at the edge of the ship, shaking her fist in the air. That's right, you better run, you perverted cross-dressing freak. Will bellowed at the ship with lightning in her eyes from her rage. What happened out here? Naruto asked curiously, getting everyone's attention. We met this cool guy with cloning powers. Luffy said with a smile. He was part of Baroque Works, Luffy. Vivi yelled in a panic. He was still cool, Luffy said with a shrug. Cool nothing. He turned into me and flashed everyone. Will bellowed in anger. This got silence from Naruto and Kurama. Before Kurama fell to the floor and started to cackle madly while rolling about. Oh god. I am gonna buy that guy a full course meal. Oh god, I can't breathe. Kurama yelled as he kicked his legs in the air as he laughed. I'm gonna kill him, Naruto said with a growl. Why? Because he turned into your girlfriend and showed everyone something only you should see? Zoro asked with a raised eyebrow. That has nothing to do with it. Will's my girlfriend, yes, but this shit is unacceptable. Hell, if he had done that to Nami or Vivi, I would have done the same thing, Naruto said with a glare. Nami and Vivi both smiled at this, grateful to Naruto for this. Well, I hit him so hard, he lost a tooth, babe. So relax, Will said with a smile. Good. Okay, I'm gonna go fishing, Naruto said as he walked over to the edge of the ship and jumped over the railing into the sea below. Naruto. Luffy, Chopper and Usopp yelled out as they ran after him. What? Naruto asked as he stood on the water, looking up at them. What the heck? The crew, besides Will and Kurama, yelled upon seeing this. He can walk on water and solid surfaces. It's not that big a deal, Kurama said with a shrug. He's a spider ninja? Chopper asked curiously. Ha! I like this kid. Kurama laughed as he patted Chopper on the head. Naruto rolled his eyes at this before he activated his sage mode and looked down at the sea. There were several fish looking up at him curiously. What's he gonna whoa? Usopp yelled as Naruto threw several big fish onto the deck of the ship which started to flop about on the deck. Okay babe, we have enough, Will said with a smile at Naruto. Naruto nodded at this before something broke the surface behind him, making him turn around and look up at the sea creature looming over him. It looked like a giant catfish that looked down at Naruto curiously. What the heck is that? Usopp yelled out in terror. It's a sea cat, Vivi said with a smile. Looks yummy. I wanna eat it, Luffy said with a smile at the sea creature, licking his lips. I'll slice it into good-sized chunks, Zoro said, placing his hand on one of his swords. And I'll grill them, Sanji said, lighting a cigarette and puffed it for a moment before letting out some smoke. You'll do no such thing. Vivi yelled out as she smacked the three of them over the head. Why not? Will asked her curiously. Sea cats are endangered and the kingdom of Alabasta has strictly forbidden anyone from harming them, Vivi said as the sea cat lowered its head down to Naruto. Naruto looked up at the sea cat and smiled. Hey big guy, you're definitely the cutest fish I have seen, he said as he patted the catfish on the nose. The sea cat smiled at this and started to purr. Seeing the sea cat means that we're close to Alabasta, Vivi said with a smile. Good. I'll use these fish Naruto caught and make us a meal so we are all well fed before we get there, Sanji said with a nod as he carried one of the fish into the kitchen. And while Sanji is doing that, we can make a plan, Nami said with a nod. Come on up Naruto. And no, you can't keep it. Kurama yelled with a laugh. Naruto nodded at this. Well, I gotta go big guy, he said. The sea cat meowed at this before it dived under the sea as Naruto walked up the side of Going Merry and jumped onto the deck. Before anyone could say anything, the sea cat broke the surface again and looked down at Naruto. Sorry Mr. Kitty, but we can't take you with us, Will said with a smile. The sea cat then opened its mouth and dropped something at Naruto's feet. The treasure chest. Usopp asked curiously, seeing the chest. Oh, he likes you and wants to give you something, Vivi said with a smile. Naruto chuckled at this as he picked up the chest. Thanks, he said as he gave the sea cat a thumbs up. Meow. The sea cat said before it submerged itself. What do you suppose is in it? Kurama asked curiously. Money and jewels, of course, Nami said with a large smile before she fluttered her eyelashes at Naruto. Naruto, if you give me what's inside the box, I'll make it worth your while, she said as she sauntered over to him before running her finger along his chest. Will chuckled at this as Nami kinda reminded her of Cornelia and Irma. Let's see what it is before you scam the new guy, Zoro said with a flat tone. I think you mean jump into his pants, Kurama said with a grin. Both Zoro and Kurama laughed at this before they were both hit by Nami in the head, leaving lumps on their heads, while Nami stood over them with a fierce look and a shaking fist. Naruto chuckled at this as he opened the treasure chest and the fruit with swirls on it. Will asked as she looked over Naruto's shoulder into the chest, seeing a blue peach with swirls on it. This got many to freeze in surprise. That sea cat gave you a devil fruit? Vivi asked with a surprised look, along with Karu. The what fruit? Naruto asked with a raised eyebrow. One explanation later. This world is stupid, Kurama grumbled to himself as he rolled his eyes. So we can get a power like Luffy if we eat this thing? Will asked curiously. Well, everyone but Luffy and Chopper can. If they eat it, they will die, from what I've heard, Nami said. Is there any way to find out what power it has? Naruto asked curiously. The world government keeps books about the different kinds of devil fruits in the world, what powers they have and what they look like, Vivi said with a shrug. So it's a crapshoot, Will said with a frown at the fact that it was random if the power was gonna be any good. Naruto said as he held the fruit and activated his sage mode so he could see if the fruit had an aura. As he looked at the fruit, he saw an aura in the shape of a flying eagle. You just gonna look at it? Sanji asked curiously, wondering what Naruto was doing as he'd come back out to see what was going on. I think this thing has a power having to do with an eagle, Naruto said as he deactivated his sage mode. Ah, a zone type like me, Chopper said as he turned into his full human form for emphasis. A bird type zone is rare, Vivi said with a contemplative look. Is anyone interested? Naruto asked curiously to the crew. Don't want it, Zoro said, shaking his head, seeing a fruit as something a swordsman doesn't need. I'm looking for a different devil fruit to eat, Sanji said, holding his hands up before heading back into the kitchen. No thanks. I like swimming, Nami said. Not interested. I don't need a crutch, Kurama said with a scoff at the idea of getting some power he didn't really need. Aw, and I was gonna call you Kurama the Flying Fox, Naruto said with a smirk. Kurama just stuck his tongue out maturely. Same as Nami. I prefer swimming, babe, Will said with a smile at Naruto. Hey Usopp, you're a sniper, right? Naruto asked. The best in the world. Why? Usopp asked with a smile at being able to brag. Well, eagles have crazy good vision, so Naruto trailed off as he held out the fruit to the sniper. Usopp's eyes widened in surprise at this as he had heard this about eagles. Usopp, the eagle sounds cool, Luffy said with a smile. Plus, we could use another flyer on the crew, Will said with a grin. Usopp looked at the fruit Naruto was holding out and after a moment of thinking about it, he grabbed it and took a bite before he turned green. Ah. It tastes horrible. Usopp yelled after he swallowed. Yay, mine tasted bad too, Chopper said with a disgusted look as he remembered when he ate his fruit. "So did mine," Luffy said with a nod, hanging his tongue out as though remembering the taste. "So, how long until this thing kicks in?" Usopp asked curiously. "Yay, I'm curious if he naturally knows how to fly," Will said, wondering if she would need to teach Usopp how to fly. "Should be instant, it was with me," Luffy said with a shrug. "Try and concentrate," Chopper said, trying to help since he was his own type. Usopp closed his eyes and focused for a bit and he changed into what looked like a human eagle. This looks like it's your human and eagle form, since you still have human hands," Chopper said, as he inspected Usopp. "Okay, so he can enter his hybrid form, which is good for combat. What about going full eagle?" Naruto asked. Usopp focused, and he soon shrunk down into what looked like a full eagle, as his hands merged with his wings. "Wow. Look at me," Usopp said, as he held out his big wings. "Okay, I get it. Full eagle is for flying and speed, while hybrid is for close combat," Will said with a nod. "Makes sense. He has talons in both forms, but in hybrid he could really hurt someone," Kurama said with a nod. Naruto nodded at this. "Okay Usopp, Will is gonna work with you on flying, and either me or Kurama will." "You?" Usopp yelled at Naruto in a panic as his feathers stood up from his fear at the very idea of training with Kurama. "Any way you see him incorporating his sniper skills with this?" Nami asked curiously. "He could fly over his enemies and shoot down at them or shoot them from a distance and they won't see him coming," Naruto said. "How can he shoot while flying?" "He has to flap his arms," Vivi asked with a raised eyebrow. Oh. I could get some railguns for my back which I can fire when I'm flying," Usopp said after thinking for a moment. "Ah, good idea," Naruto said with a smile and a thumbs up at the crew's sniper. "That's a good idea. One of my father's guards does the same thing with his falcon fruit," Vivi said with a smile. "You think he could give me a few pointers?" Usopp asked with a grin. "Sure, I don't see why not," Vivi said with a nod. "Okay everyone, the food is ready." Sanji yelled out to the crew from the kitchen. "Food?" Luffy yelled with a wide grin as he ran onto the kitchen. "Don't eat all of it, you rubber-brained idiot," Sanji was heard yelling. "Hey. I'm hungry too, you moron," Kurama yelled as he ran after Luffy. "Let's go eat before Luffy eats all of the food," Nami said with a sigh. "Or Kurama kills him," Naruto said with a chuckle as they all went into the kitchen to eat. Soon enough, everyone had sat down and grabbed what they wanted to eat. "So Vivi, what can you tell us about those working in Baroque works?" Will asked before she ate a sushi roll. "Crocodile, known as Mr. Zero in the organization, is partnered with Miss All Sunday. The next in line is Mr. One and his partner Miss Doublefinger," Vivi said. "What, does she actually have double fingers?" Kurama asked with a snicker. "Hush you. Go on Vivi," Naruto said with a nod at the princess. "We next have Mr. Two, who doesn't have a partner. Then we have Mr. Three and Miss Goldenweek," Vivi said. "Oh yay, I read about that guy in the logbook," Will said with a scowl, as she hated guys who played dirty tricks. "We then have Mr. 4 and Miss Merry Christmas, and then finally Mr. 5 is partnered with Miss Valentine," Vivi said. "The guy with the exploding power," Usopp said with a groan as he remembered the beating he and Karu took from him back on Little Garden. So we have the boss and his top lackeys," Zoro mused. "Yep. And they all have devil fruit powers too," Vivi said with a nod. "Good thing I have one now," Usopp said with a smile. "Good, then you're gonna be learning how to fly with me, long nose," Will said with a smirk at Usopp's pale face. "Be afraid, be very afraid," Kurama said with a laugh. "If that Mr. Two can turn into most of us, then we need a way to screen each other in case we get separated," Naruto said with a frown. "What, like a password?" Nami asked with a raised eyebrow. "Or something random nobody would guess," Will said with a nod. "I would like to put forth a phrase for consideration," Kurama said with a mischievous snicker. "Oh boy. Well, let's hear it," Naruto said with a roll of his eyes, knowing that Kurama was gonna say something. "I'm fed up with this Orgasamao," Kurama yelled as Nami and Will both slammed their fists on his head, sending him onto the floor with a lump on his head. This got a laugh from Zoro and Usopp while Naruto pinched his nose and sighed at Kurama's immaturity. Later. Everyone was on the deck looking at Alabasta as they docked in Nanohana. "Alright, let's find what supplies we need for crossing the desert," Vivi said. "Okay. Sanji, you get us some desert clothes while Zoro, Chopper and Usopp, you stay here to keep the ship safe while me, Will and Vivi get food," Nami said. "I see a restaurant," Luffy yelled as he jumped off the ship and ran into town. "And Naruto and Kurama, you go get that idiot," Nami said with a sigh. Naruto nodded at this as he and Kurama walked towards the edge of the ship to go follow Luffy. "Hey, if he's an idiot, are we bigger idiots for following him?" Kurama asked with a smirk. Naruto snorted at this and laughed along with Kurama as they jumped off the ship, leaving the crew with depressed looks at what Kurama just pointed out. Naruto and Kurama ran after Luffy and saw him slingshot himself into a restaurant. I swear, that guy is gonna be the death of us, Kurama said with a sigh as they walked along. Naruto nodded at this, and as he walked, he noticed a squad of marines nearby. You noticed them too? Kurama asked with a scowl. Naruto nodded, knowing that since Luffy had a bounty on his head, they would most likely be a problem. Let's take care of them now, so we can leave without a problem, Kurama said with a smirk as he cracked his claws. They have guns, you moron. You're not bulletproof, Naruto said, knocking him in the back of the head lightly. This sucks. I want a bounty too, Kurama groaned as he held his head. Oh relax, I bet you will get one soon enough. Now, let's go get our captain before he brings attention to him, Naruto was saying before he was cut off. Run away. Luffy yelled as he ran out of the restaurant in a panic. Luffy, what did you do? Naruto asked with a sigh. I ran into a marine I can't beat. Luffy yelled as he ran past them. Oh really? Kurama asked with a smirk as he cracked his fists. Out of my way. A man yelled as he flew out of the restaurant, leaving a trail of smoke behind him as he did. He had white hair, while wearing a marine coat with fur edges that was open, with 2 cigars in his mouth and a jit attached to his coat. This was Captain Smoker of the Marines. Sorry, but that's my new captain. And if you want him, you go through me first, Naruto said with a hard look on his face. Please try to get past us, Kurama said with a mad grin, cracking his neck. I don't recall seeing you on Straw Hat's crew back in Lowtown, Smoker said with a glare as he stood before them, having the smoke turn back into his legs. We're new additions, Naruto said with a shrug. What's a mink doing so far from home? Smoker asked, glaring at Kurama. I'm a pirate, so none of your business. Unless you think you can make me talk, Kurama said with a smirk. Hashigi. You and the troops go after Straw Hat. Smoker yelled at a girl who just ran over. She was wearing glasses and had short black hair. She wore a flowery shirt underneath a dark blue jacket with white fur lining the edges and was holding a katana in her hands. This was Tashigi, Smoker's right hand. Sir. Tashigi yelled with a salute as she ran with her troops after Luffy. Smoker grabbed the giant tuning fork off his back as smoke came off his body before he shot a fist at them. So you can turn into smoke, Naruto mused as he dodged his swipe and observed the marine captain. Kurama ran at Smoker and charged his claws ready before he swiped at Smoker, who blocked with his fork-like weapon. Typical pirate, no plan whatsoever, Smoker said with a growl. Kurama then smirked at this. Are you sure about that? He asked before he ignited electricity in his claws, which covered Smoker's weapon and shocked Smoker. Ah! Smoker yelled before he fell to his knees. Kurama then held up the fork-like weapon and inspected it for a moment. Nice weapon, you'll take it, he said with a smirk as he gave it a few twirls to test it out. Didn't think you would take up a weapon, Kurama, Naruto said with a chuckle. Hey, I can't let Zoro be the only cool one on the crew, Kurama said with a smirk. Ah. Give that back, Smoker yelled as his body sparked as he struggled to move. Make me, Smokey, Kurama said with a grin, resting his new weapon on his shoulder. Kurama, we need to get back and he's paralyzed thanks to your attack. So let's go, Naruto said. Alright Naruto, let's head back. See ya, Smokey, and thanks for the weapon. Kurama yelled with a cackle as he and Naruto ran off. Smoker growled and glared at the fleeing pirates as they ran away. Back at the Going Merry. Damn, the marines are all over the place, Will said with a scowl as she, Nami and Vivi put all the food away and saw a group of marines approaching the docks. There's the Straw Hat ship. A marine yelled out. Let's capture them and burn their ship, another yelled before they all charged. Ah. We're gonna get caught. Chopper yelled in a panic. Will made her wings appear and flew up in the air and hovered in front of the charging marines, who stopped in surprise. The new Straw Hat? Tashigi asked as she unsheathed her sword and glared at Will. The name's Will, and you get one chance to back off, Will said with a kind smile, wanting to give the woman a chance. Never pirate. Tashigi said with a scowl. Will sighed at this and held out her hand, which sparked before she made her body light up with lightning, before she made a massive amount and formed a demonic face behind her, which roared at the marines. This caused the marines' rifles to spark and to jump out of their hands. Freedom. The rifles yelled as they floated away. So that works on guns too. Good to know, Will said with a smirk. Run away. The marines yelled as they all turned around and ran off. Get back here. Tashigi yelled at her running subordinates before Will flashed behind her and tapped her on the back of her neck and zapped her, making her yell before she fell to the ground and dropped her katana. Sorry, but I can't let you and your goons take my captain's ship, Will said as she walked away from Tashigi. But she stopped when she felt Tashigi grab her leg, stopping her. You won't get away, Tashigi growled out. Will sighed at this before she made her hand crackle as she made a chidori. But suddenly, Naruto appeared behind her and grabbed her wrist, stopping her. Will, Naruto said, as he shook his head in disapproval at her. Oh relax, it's my blunt version, Will said, rolling her eyes at him. Yay, she doesn't have it in her to kill someone so weak, Kurama said as he walked over, with Smoker's weapon on his shoulder. Ishigi glared at Kurama at this, before her eyes widened upon seeing Smoker's weapon in his hand. Where is Captain Smoker? She demanded from him. Relax fangirl. I left him paralyzed, but alive, Kurama said, as he made some sparks with his free claw for emphasis. Ha! Will laughed at this, finding the fangirl crack funny. Naruto then saw Sanji running over, with bags of clothes on his back and in his hands, with marines chasing after him. Naruto made some hand signs as Sanji ran past him and slammed it on the ground, making a swamp appear in front of the approaching marines. Earth style. Swamp of the underworld, Naruto said, as he stood up. The marines ran at them and started to sink into the ground. Let them go. Tashigi yelled in a panic, thinking it was quicksand. Oh relax, they'll only sink to their waists, Naruto said. Yay, we don't kill willy-nilly, fangirl Will said with a smile as she, Naruto and Kurama ran to the Going Merry. Where is Luffy? Nami asked, as the ship left the docks. He's not here? Naruto asked, wondering how they beat Luffy here, since he was ahead of them. No, Luffy has a bad sense of direction, like Zoro here, Usopp said, pointing his thumb over his shoulder. Boy! Zoro yelled out. Don't deny it, you'd get lost in a closet, Kurama said with a snicker. Ha! Nami laughed, along with Will at the double meaning of this. I'll find Luffy, Naruto said, as he focused for a moment and went into sage mode to extend his senses, before he rolled his eyes and turned around to look at the shore. Will looked and saw Luffy on the edge of the docks, waving at them. Our captain, everybody, Kurama said with a groan. Luffy then readied his fist and threw his fist and stretched his arm over and grabbed the side of the ship before he launched himself towards the ship. Then crashed into Naruto, sending them to the floor. Oops, sorry about that, Luffy said with a grin. Before Kurama poked him hard in the head with the tip of his fork weapon, causing him to collapse to the deck. Ow. That hurt. Luffy yelled in pain. But your rubber, Zoro asked with a raised eyebrow. It must be made of sea stone, Nami said. That, or your mink friend has haki, a voice said from behind them, causing everyone to turn and see someone crouching on the rails of the ship. He was wearing an orange head with beads around the edge, with a smiley face and a frowny face. He wore no shirt, had a log pose on his wrist, black pants with a belt that had a dagger sheathed in it, and a pair of boots. He ace. Luffy yelled with a smile. Is this a friend of yours, Luffy? Naruto asked, as he got up. He's my older brother, Luffy said happily. Your brother? The crew yelled together. Interesting crew you have, little bro, Ace said, hopping off the railing. I know, aren't they great? Luffy asked with a smile, standing up. I'm surprised that you found a mink so close to the beginning of the Grand Line, Ace said, as he looked at Kurama with a raised eyebrow. Yay. What's this hockey stuff? Kurama asked curiously. Well, that confirms it. Your weapon is made of sea stone, Nami said with a curious look at Kurama, wanting to know where he got it. Technically, he stole it from a marine named Smoker, Naruto said. Nami paused at this, before she smacked Kurama on the head. Ow. What the funk, woman? Kurama yelled, holding his head. You picked a fight with a marine and stole his weapon. Nami yelled at him. He was chasing after the rubber idiot. If anything, Luffy should be getting hit. Not me, Kurama yelled back. Yeah, but you feel like you're tough shit, furball. Nami yelled, as they bashed their foreheads together, glaring at each other. Naruto chuckled at this, as he liked this fiery attitude of hers. Eyes, we have a problem. Usopp yelled, as he pointed at the sea, where there was a fleet of ships with the Baroque work symbol on their sails. It's the millions, Vivi yelled out. Leave it to me, Naruto said, as he cracked his neck before he ran towards the front of the ship and jumped into the air and switched to his sage mode. Oh hell yay. He's gonna funk them up, Kurama said with a smirk as Naruto charged a Rasen shuriken in his hand before he threw it at the fleet. When it got close enough, it exploded and engulfed the entire fleet in a blast of sharp wind, shredding the entire fleet of ships. The entire crew and Ace, besides Kurama and Will, looked at this with their eyes and mouths wide open in shock. That was awesome. Luffy, Usopp and Chopper yelled out. Whoa, Sanji said, as his cigarette fell from his open mouth. Ditto, Zoro said with a nod. Luffy, where did you find this guy? Ace asked with a hard tone, as this was a show of power of one of the Yonko's subordinates. We met him, Will, Kurama and Chopper on Drum Island, Luffy said. I was there briefly. But left just as soon as I got there, Ace said. Why's that? You don't like the snow? Will asked curiously. Join the club, Kurama said with a scowl, as he hated snow. Man, that takes a lot out of me, Naruto groaned as he walked over to them. Well, get some rest. We will be at Aramalu soon, Vivi said. Naruto nodded at this as he looked at Ace, who was looking at him curiously. "What?" he asked with a raised eyebrow. "Do you want to join my captain's crew?" Ace asked curiously. This got shocked looks from everyone. "Hey. Don't steal my ninja," Luffy yelled in a rage. "You're from Wano?" Ace asked in surprise. "What's Wano?" Naruto asked curiously. "Well, that answers that," Ace said with a sigh. "Screw that. What the hell is hockey?" Kurama asked with a scowl, leaning against the rails. "Are you looking to learn?" Ace asked with a chuckle. "Is it something we should know?" Will asked. "If you want to survive in the new world, then yeah," Ace said with a chuckle. Naruto nodded at this. "Then we should talk," he said. "We're gonna have some lunch, so feel free to join us," Sanji said as he lit a new cigarette. Ace nodded in thanks at this as he was hungry after the fight he got into with the Baroque Works millions. "Okay, cool. Me and the girls need to get dressed in the desert clothes Sanji got us," Will said as they grabbed the bags with their clothes in. "Well, we do the same," Naruto said with a nod as he grabbed the other bags before they all went into separate rooms to get changed. A little later, in the dining area, Naruto and the other male crew members entered the dining area where "I am gonna kill you, you pervert," Will bellowed at Sanji as she tried to punch him but was held back by Nami and Vivi. Naruto looked at the girls and paused as they were in what looked like dancer outfits. "Sanji, well, I appreciate the outfit, we need something to cover ourselves from the sun," Vivi said. "Here," Naruto said as he threw the girls some desert cloaks. "I don't see the big deal. I think they are cute," Nami said with a smile. "Well then, if you like, you can put on a show for me later," Naruto said with a grin. "Are you hitting on me, Whiskers?" Nami asked with a smirk. "Yay, I am. What of it?" Naruto asked, his grin still on his face. Nami chuckled at this as she put her cloak on along with Will and Vivi. "You pervert?" Luffy asked Naruto curiously. Will and Kurama laughed at this while Naruto groaned. "No, Luffy. Naruto is allowed to date multiple women since he is the last of his clan and will need multiple wives in the future," Will said with a smile. "That, and you like women too. And you're a pervert," Kurama said with a snicker. "And do I make the cut?" Nami asked Will as it was obvious she would have a say in who joined in. "Yep. And the princess too," Will said with a nod. Nami smirked at Naruto at this while Vivi blushed in surprise. "Well, stop, you're making me out to be a pervert," Naruto said with a frown. "Let's just eat," Ace said with a chuckle as he sat down at the table where there was a big meal ready. "I agree. The four of you can mate later," Kurama said with a nod. "Jealous?" Will said with a smirk as she sat down. "Ha. You wish. There's no woman out there that can handle me," Kurama said, sitting at the table. "Zoo women would say different things," Ace said with a chuckle. "What's that?" Chopper asked curiously as everyone else sat down. "It's where the minks live in the new world. And everyone there is a warrior, man, woman and child," Ace said. "Oh wow, it's an island of Kuramas," Usopp said with wide eyes. All warriors huh?" Kurama said with a smirk. "Indeed. But it's in the new world, so it will be a while before you get there," Ace said. "And if we want to make it in the new world, then we need to know what this hockey is. So let's hear it," Naruto said. Ace nodded at this as he started to explain. One explanation later. Naruto was writing down training exercises on hockey from Ace. "This seems like it will be hard work, but will be worth it," Naruto said as he stopped writing and sealed the notes in a tattoo on his wrist. "Glad that I could at least help you get started. Just be sure to take care of my little bro, okay?" Ace asked. "Count on it," Naruto said with a nod along with the rest of the crew. "Now tell me, what is you all alone and not with Whiteboard?" Zoro asked curiously as he recognized a tattoo on Ace's back. "I'm here looking for someone that broke a law on Whitebeard's crew," Ace said with a scowl. "What did he do?" Usopp asked curiously. "He killed a crewmate and stole a devil fruit from him," Ace said. "As everyone on Whitebeard's crew is seen as family." This got silence from everyone. "What's the guy's name?" Naruto asked curiously. "Marshall D. Teach. But he's decided to call himself Blackbeard," Ace said. Naruto's eyes widened at this. "Shit. I met that guy back on Drum Island," he said. Ace's eyes widened at this. "You fought him?" he asked. "Yay, and he was no joke. He had this weird power where he could manipulate darkness and suck things in," Naruto said with a frown. Never heard of this fruit before," Ace said with a frown. "Yay, well, fight him with caution if you find him," Naruto said in warning. Ace nodded at this as he got up. "Thanks for the meal, little bro, but I have my own mission to complete," he said. "Oh, Luffy said with a pout. Ace smiled at him before he took out a piece of paper from his pocket and handed it to Luffy. "Don't worry. If you keep this, we will meet again," he said before leaving the dining room. The crew followed after Ace outside, who jumped over the edge of the ship. "Ace. Luffy yelled as he ran over and looked over the edge. The others followed him and saw that Ace was on what looked like a mini boat. "See you later," Luffy Ace said with a wave before his feet turned into fire, causing the boat to speed off. "Huh, so he uses his power to power his boat. That's pretty clever," Kurama said with a chuckle. "Yeah. Ace told me that he'd eaten the flame fruit when he helped me fight against some of those Baroque guys," Luffy said with a smile. His body seems to be made of fire," Naruto mused as they watched Ace take off out to sea on his boat. "Ah, a Loja type," Vivi said with a nod of understanding. "Is that a type of devil fruit?" Will asked curiously. Vivi nodded at this. "Indeed, as devil fruits come in 3 different varieties. You have seen the 3 types of devil fruits from Luffy, who's a Paramecia, while Chopper and Usopp are Zone, and now Ace who ate a Loja," she said. "Right. Paramecia is a random power, while Zone are animal transformation ones," Naruto said with a nod of understanding. "And Lojas are abilities that let users generate an element and turn into that element," Vivi said. "So that's why that punk-ass Marine was so overconfident," Kurama yelled before he cackled in victory. "Okay everyone, get ready. We are about to land near Harem," Nami called out. When the ship docked, they all got ready to get off the ship, only to see. "What the heck?" Naruto asked, seeing what looked like dugongs that had turtle-like shells on their backs. They were all on the shore in front of the ship, barking at them. "So cute." Will and Nami yelled happily. "Kung Fu dugongs?" Vivi yelled in surprise and worry. "What's their deal?" Zoro asked curiously as he rested his hand on his katana. Chopper looked at them and listened as one barked something at them. "He says this is their territory and that if we want to pass, we need to fight them," he said. "Ha! The great Captain Usopp shall prevail," Usopp yelled as he jumped off the ship at the Kung Fu dugongs and turned into his hybrid form. Only to instantly be thrown back into the ship with lumps on his face and body. "You haven't started training yet, you moron," Sanji said as he rolled his eyes. "I'll fight them," Luffy yelled as he jumped down to confront them. "Save some for me," Naruto said, jumping after him. "No, wait," Vivi yelled after them in a panic. But it was too late as Luffy and Naruto each had a pile of knocked out dugongs. "Heh, that was easy," Luffy said with a laugh. "Yeah, it almost makes me feel bad," Naruto said with a chuckle. "You morons," Vivi yelled as she threw something at Luffy and Naruto, hitting them in the heads. "Ow," Naruto yelled while Luffy didn't react thanks to his rubber powers. "What's the big deal?" "They are the enemies," Zoro said with a roll of his eyes. "The big deal is that when they are defeated, they become the students of those who beat them," Vivi yelled at Zoro. But looked at this and saw that indeed the dugongs were bound to Luffy and Naruto before Naruto and Luffy showed them a few fighting moves each. She then smirked at this. "It looks like you have the beginning of a fleet, Captain," she said. "Huh?" Luffy asked cluelessly as he tilted his head. "She means they want to join your crew, Luffy," Naruto said with a chuckle. "Oh hawk," Luffy said with a nod. "What the hell?" the crew yelled in shock. "Kung Fu dugongs can't go into the desert," Vivi yelled, gaining like shark teeth and wide eyes. "So? They can guard the ship and when we leave, they can follow us," Naruto said with a smile at the dugongs, who all started to cheer. Kurama laughed at this. "He's got you there, princess," he said. "We don't have the food to support them," Sanji yelled in a panic. "They are sea creatures, Sanji. I bet they could fish for themselves, right cuties?" Will asked the dugongs with a smile. The dugongs gained hearts in their eyes at this and nodded at this while barking. "They said they are excellent hunters in the sea. So we don't need to worry about them," Chopper said, translating what was being said. "And they seem to like Will and Nami," Usopp said with a chuckle as Chopper wrapped his head with bandages. "Okay, you all stay here and protect the ship. Can you do that for us?" Naruto asked the dugongs. The dugongs all saluted Naruto and Luffy at this and barked. "While we are gone, I also want you to train so you can break this boulder like this," Luffy yelled as he punched a rock, shattering it to pieces. The dugongs all looked at Luffy with wide eyes before they started to bark in agreement and started to punch boulders nearby and started training. "Oh, they always get stronger for their captain," Nami said with a smile. Vivi sighed in defeat at this as she rubbed her forehead while Karu patted her back with his wing. "Okay, let's get ready to go, crew. We have some rebels to stop," Naruto yelled. "Before we do, I need to send Karu to the palace to let my father know everything that's happened," Vivi said as she began writing on a piece of paper. Everyone nodded at this as they got ready to go while their newish recruits trained by punching the air and practicing on rocks. Bill walked over to Usopp and grabbed him by the arm. "Come on, let's get some flight training," and she said to him. Usopp nodded at this as he followed her to a large enough area. Naruto saw this and created a shadow clone to help teach him a few fighting moves. Zoro then looked over at Kurama and noticed the new weapon he had. "You need some help training how to use that?" Zoro asked with a smirk as he took one of his swords out. Sounds good to me, Kurama said with a smirk of his own before they walked some distance away so that they wouldn't get in anyone's way before they lunged at each other. The Straw Hats were walking through the desert, having left the Kung Fu Dugongs to keep the going merry safe. Wow, I can't believe that those seals of yours can actually keep us cool, Chopper said with a smile as he gestured to his desert cloak which had some seals painted on thanks to Naruto. No problem. I'm supposed to help the crew, right? Naruto asked with a smile. You call these weights helping? Usopp yelled as he struggled to keep up because of the bands on his wrists and ankles which had seals on them. I think they're okay, Zoro said with a shrug as he had some on like Usopp. Plus, yours and Nami's are only 10 pounds a limb lightweight, Will said with a scoff. Why did you make us wear these anyway? Nami asked as she gestured to her own seal weights. So we can get stronger, right? Luffy asked curiously as he tilted his head at Naruto, who nodded at his captain. Exactly. And before you whine, Nami, Naruto likes strong girls, Will said with a knowing smirk. Nami gave a light blush at this, along with Vivi, who was not wearing any weights since she wasn't technically on the crew. Relax, Nami. I don't expect you or Usopp to be as strong as Luffy or me, but you should at least be able to fight if you have to, Naruto said. Well, at least I have my new weapon Usopp made for me, Nami said with a grin as she pulled out 3 blue pieces of metal pipe. You practice with that at all? Will asked curiously. Damn it. Nami yelled as she threw her weapon on the ground. Kurama laughed at this as he walked with his new weapon attached to his back in a temporary holster until he got a more permanent one. Relax, Will can help you train when we make camp for the night, Naruto said, giving Nami a comforting smile. Nami nodded at this as she smiled. So Vivi, how long until we reach the rebels' home base? Sanji asked with a raised eyebrow. It will be a long walk. A few days if we are lucky, Vivi said. Didn't we just summon those toads of yours? Kurama asked with a scowl. Naruto paused at this. Ha, he said dumbly as he realized he hadn't thought of that. Oh, you funking idiot. Kurama yelled as he couldn't believe how stupid his friend was. Wait, what do you mean summon toads? Is that some new devil fruit power? Chopper asked curiously. No. Naruto has a contract with the toads and he can summon them, Will said with a smile at Chopper. Okay, stand back. I'm gonna give this a shot, Naruto said with a grin as he bit his thumb and made hand signs before he slammed his hand on the ground. Summoning jutsu. The puff of smoke soon appeared and when it cleared they saw what looked like 5 toads about the sizes of large horses standing before them. Cool. Luffy, Chopper and Usopp yelled with stars in their eyes at this. Hey. What's the deal? An orange one yelled out as he looked around. Amakichi, is that you? Naruto asked with a grin. The orange toad looked at Naruto and smiled at this. Hey big bro. Where have you been? Pops has been worried about you, he said as he hopped over to Naruto. Been busy, buddy. Me, Will and Kurama joined a pirate crew and… Say what? Amakichi yelled in surprise. Relax, they are more adventurous pirates, not the bad kind, Will said to the toad with a smile as she walked over. Oh, hey Will, Amakichi said with a smile back as he liked Will cause she liked toads. Anyway, can you and your friends give us a ride across the desert? Naruto asked as he looked at the other toads he had summoned. Crossing a desert? Ha. And I thought this would be hard, Amakichi said with a laugh. Naruto smiled back at this before he turned to the others. Won't the heat of the sun be too much for you? Vivi asked in worry. Nah, we can handle this. Plus, we have techniques to cool us off. Now, everyone load up and don't scratch the paint. Amakichi said with a grin. Okay. Luffy and Zoro, you get 1 toad. Nami and Will get 1, while Chopper and Usopp get 1. Sanji, you get 1 with Kurama and Vivi can ride with me, Naruto said to the crew, who all walked to their toads. Why do I get to be with the furball? Sanji asked as he got on his toad. Cause of that stunt with the belly dancer outfits, Will said as she and Nami got on their toad. Zoro and Luffy got on their toad, with Luffy smiling excitedly while Zoro looked at the blade on the toad's back as he sat down. Toads are swordsmen? Zoro asked curiously. No, you can't spar with them, Naruto said simply as he helped Vivi onto Amakichi's back. Yay. You heard a word on them and I'll fry you. Will yelled at Zoro with her hair sparking while waving in the air. How fast are these guys? Chopper asked as he and Usopp sat down on their toad. We should make good time if we don't run into any surprises, Amakichi said as he was confident in their abilities. Okay, lead the way, Naruto said with a grin as he pointed in the direction they wanted to go. Okay men. Follow me. Amakichi yelled before he hopped off. The other toads croaked at this and took off after Amakichi. This is awesome. Luffy laughed loudly. Awesome nothing, you idiot. Nami yelled as she struggled to hang on but was caught by Will. "I got you," Will said with a grin as she held Nami close. "Don't get fresh with me. Kurama told me you're a pervert," Nami stuttered out. "Don't worry, I'm saving that for Naruto. Though I gotta say, you're well equipped. Are those DT cups?" Will said with a cheeky grin as she gripped Nami's chest as she hugged her from behind. Nami went beet red at this. "I should charge you for that," she growled out. Feels like they are still growing too," Will said with a smirk. "Unhand me, pervert." Nami yelled as she tried to get out of Will's grip. "You love it," Will said with a giggle as she let Nami go and let Nami grab the back shirt of their toad so she could hold on. "Are all you toads so fast?" Chopper yelled at his toad. "Nope, this is my specialty trained squad, little Tanuki." Gamakichi yelled. "I'm a reindeer." Chopper yelled out at the lead toad, who just laughed at this. Vivi was holding on to Naruto tightly as they rode on Gamakichi's back. "Relax, Vivi, I won't let you fall," Naruto said with a smile at the desert princess as he held her close. "So Naruto, is she another one of your girlfriends?" Gamakichi asked with a grin. Vivi blushed bright red at this. "Nah, she's just a friend. I'm not that lucky buddy," Naruto said with a smile. "Ha. You keep being a sweetheart and you may lure her into being a filthy pirate," Kurama yelled as he laughed. "Vivi the pirate princess. It sure does have a nice ring to it," Will yelled out with a grin. Before anyone could respond, Naruto spotted something ahead of them in the desert. "Is that a giant purple lizard?" Sanji asked curiously. Vivi looked over and paled at what she saw. "That's a Sandora dragon. They're the biggest reptile in all of Alabasta. They hide under the desert to wait for their prey. They have razor-sharp claws and fangs, but hardly use them as they swallow their prey in just one go," she said. "Let's fight it." Gamakichi yelled with a grin as he looked at the lizard as he jumped up. "Be careful, cause they usually hunt in pairs," Vivi yelled out. Suddenly, another Sandora dragon shot out from under the sand underneath the toads, with its mouth wide open. "WWAHH. Nami, Chopper and Usopp yelled out in fear. "Gamakichi, oil." Naruto yelled out as he jumped off Gamakichi. "On it, bro." "Okay men, douse them both." Gamakichi yelled as he and his fellow toads made hand signs and fired what looked like oil at the two Sandora dragons. Naruto made several hand signs before he took a deep breath and fired a massive blast of fire from his mouth at the oil-covered Sandora dragons. The Sandora dragons roared as they were lit on fire while the toads landed nearby in the sand and watched them burn. Naruto landed on Gamakichi's back next to Vivi. "You okay?" he asked her, who had a stunned look at this. "You just killed two Sandora dragons," Vivi stuttered out. "Well, Gamakichi and his friends helped," Naruto said with a chuckle. When the fire finally died down, Luffy jumped off his toad and ran over to the charred lizards. "Hey Sanji, can we eat these?" he asked with a grin. Sanji walked over and inspected the large lizards. "Sorry Luffy, but they are burned to their core. So they won't taste good," he said as he shook his head. "Dang it Naruto. They probably would have tasted good too," Luffy yelled as he waved his arms over his head in frustration. "Nice to know you have your priorities straight," Captain Will said with a flat tone. I agree with Rubber Brain. They probably tasted good," Kurama said as he sat on his toad. "Everyone just get back in your seats, we have a lot of ground to cover," Nami said as she rolled her eyes at this. "Say Vivi, what do you think about turning the fangs and claws into weapons?" Naruto asked her curiously. "What, are you thinking of taking up a weapon babe?" Will asked curiously. "Well, since Kurama's taken the Marine Captain's weapon for himself, I might as well get one of my own," Naruto said with a shrug. "What are you thinking?" Kurama asked with a beaked eyebrow. "No idea. Not really a blade guy, if I'm being honest. Maybe some kind of bow staff," Naruto said. "Are you copying the third Hokage?" Will asked as she remembered the stories he had told her about the old man. "Hey, a bow staff is cool, woman," Naruto yelled as Luffy and Sanji got back on their toads. Will laughed at this. "Hey, I'm not judging. I'm thinking of using senbon needles myself," she said. "That plus electricity, ouch," Usopp said with a flinch at the idea of being stabbed by an electricity-charged senbon. "Me, Ace and Sabo used metal pipes as weapons when we were kids," Luffy said with a fond smile as he remembered using ordinary pipes to fight bandits and pirates. "Who's Sabo?" Chopper asked. "I don't want to talk about it," Luffy said with a small frown. "Okay, let's get moving," Naruto said as he nodded at Gamakichi. Gamakichi nodded at this before he and the other toads took off hopping again. Later. The sun was now setting over the desert and the crew were still making their way across the desert. "We should find a place to make camp," Nami yelled out. "How much further until Yuba, Vivi?" Sanji yelled. "Not far," Vivi said as she looked around and paused as she spotted something in the desert. Usopp was able to spot it too, thanks to his new eagle eyes. "Hey, is that a town?" he asked. Vivi looked at this, and after a few moments of looking her eyes widened. "That's Yuba," she yelled happily. "Wow. We made good time," Will said with a grin. "Okay men, that's our destination. Let's go." Gamakichi yelled as he hoped towards the town with his fellow toads following. Soon they arrived outside the town and the toads let everyone off. "Okay everyone, let's set up camp and start dinner," Nami said as she and Will got off their toad. Naruto jumped off his toad and helped Vivi down before he looked at Gamakichi. "Thanks for the ride," he said with a nod. "No problem bro. If you need a ride again, call us. Oh, and call Pops soon. He is worried about you," Gamakichi said. Naruto nodded at the toads at this before they all disappeared in large puffs of smoke. Vivi, are you sure this is the right town?" Usopp asked as they all looked at the town. Vivi nodded at this. "Yes, I'm sure of it," she said. "Really? It looks like a hole to me," Kurama said as he looked around. "Watch it. It's not their fault, it's Crocodile's fault," Naruto said with a glare as he looked at the town. "Is anyone here?" Luffy yelled as he looked around. They all heard something to the side and they all turned and saw an old man approaching them. He was dressed in desert gear while carrying a lit lantern and a shovel. "Princess Bai." The old man stuttered out as he looked at Vivi. "Toto, is that you?" Vivi asked as she recognized the old man before she ran over to him. "It is you. I'm glad you're okay," Toto said as Vivi hugged him. "Okay everyone, let Vivi talk to her friend. We should set up camp," and Nami was saying before she was cut off. "I'm on it," Naruto said as he made some clones who all walked over to the bags of supplies and got to work. "Good. Well Sanji makes dinner, you two are coming with me." Will yelled as she grabbed Nami and Usopp and dragged them off. "Hey. What's your problem?" Usopp asked as he was dragged away. "Time to train you two a bit. Welcome to hell." Will said with a mad grin at the navigator and sniper. Usopp paled at Will's grin before he changed into his full eagle form and tried to fly away, but Will's grip kept him in place. "Hey brat, mind giving me some shadow clones to spar against?" Kurama yelled out. "Spar with Zoro. He's a better sparring partner for you," Naruto yelled back as he followed Vivi along with Luffy. "That's true, but I don't want to wrangle the eternal lost samurai," Kurama said with a snicker as he drew his new jut off his back. "Boy. Do you want some of this?" Fluffy Zoro yelled as he drew his katanas. "Oh, I don't want just some of it. I want the whole thing," Kurama yelled as he and Zoro clashed and started to fight. "Hey. Take that shit somewhere else," Will yelled as she looked back as she dragged Nami and Usopp to a makeshift training ground that some of Naruto's clones had set up. "Bite me Wilma," Kurama and Zoro yelled as they looked away from each other as they clashed. "I'll kill you," Will bellowed as she attacked both Kurama and Zoro with electric-charged fists and feet. "This crew is nuts," Chopper said as he watched Will fight Kurama and Zoro. "Yup. Now come on and help me set up the campfire," Sanji said as he lit a cigarette. Nami and Usopp tried to leave, but some of Naruto's clones grabbed them and pulled them over to the makeshift training ground. Later. The crew were all sitting around the campfire, eating some food while Toto was sitting with them, eating some stew. "Thanks. I haven't had a meal this good in a while," Toto said to Sanji with a smile, who nodded at him. "I can't believe things are this bad," Will said as she frowned and looked at the abandoned town. "Yeah. It's also why Koza and the others left for Katoria," Toto said with a frown. "So we just wasted our time coming here?" Nami asked with a groan as Vivi had explained to them where all the towns and cities were in Alabasta. "This whole thing is Crocodile's fault," Naruto said with a growl as he saw what his actions had done to this town and he couldn't imagine how many people were suffering because of Crocodile and his plans. "So, what's the plan now?" Kurama asked. "We go to Katoria," and Vivi was saying before she was interrupted. "Nope," Luffy said as he finished his food and shook his head. "What do you mean nope?" Sanji asked with a scowl. "I mean no. I'm not going," Luffy said simply as he sat back with his arms crossed. "Why would you?" Vivi was saying before she was interrupted. "This is a waste of time," Luffy said simply with a shrug. Vivi froze at this while Naruto, Kurama and Zoro said nothing as they realized what was going on. Vivi soon gave a scowl before she walked over to Luffy and slugged him in the face. "What do you mean this is a waste of time, you idiot?" Vivi yelled out as she raised her fist again to slug Luffy, who was unaffected. But Naruto was behind her and grabbed her wrist, stopping her. "Vivi, stop. Luffy doesn't mean saving lives is a waste of time," Naruto said as he knew what Vivi was probably thinking. "Then what does he mean?" Nami asked as she wasn't getting this. Bull nodded at this as she finally understood. "He means this isn't gonna end unless we defeat Crocodile once and for all," she said. Zoro and Kurama nodded at this in agreement. We can stop the fighting if we get to the rebels, and Vivi was saying before she got cut off. Princess, you're a moron, Kurama said as he scoffed. Sanji went to kick Kurama, but he blocked with his jit. How dare you insult Vivi, you stupid fox. Sanji yelled at him. Back off or I'm taking your other eye. Kurama yelled back. What do you mean, Kurama? Chopper asked curiously. I mean, do you really think Vivi will get anywhere near the rebels' leader? Crocodile probably has agents in the rebel army that have a kill-on-sight order on you, Kurama said as he looked away from Sanji. Naruto gave a nod at this. And he probably has some in the royal army to stop her getting to her father too, he said. So the only option is going after Crocodile, Will said as she nodded. I don't want to sacrifice you all fighting Crocodile, Vivi said in worry. Vivi, stop. We're your friends and friends do this. So stop worrying and leave this to us, Naruto said as he patted Vivi on the head, comforting her. Vivi stopped at this before she started to cry and nodded. Okay Captain, what's the plan? Will asked Luffy with a smile. Find Crocodile and beat him to a pulp, Luffy said, punching his fists together with a grin. I like this plan, simple and easy to remember. The first one that didn't make me think I was on the short boat of pirate crews, Kurama said with a fanged grin. Zoro snorted at this, while Usopp laughed as Nami and Will rolled their eyes, with Sanji ignoring this. I don't get it, Chopper said as he tilted his head in confusion. He's calling this crew retarded, Will said flatly. I'm not fireproof, Luffy said simply. Kurama, Usopp, Sanji and Zoro fell over at this and started to laugh hard at this, with Kurama slamming his fist into the ground while Usopp was on his back, kicking his feet in the air. Boy, Nami groaned as she slapped her forehead. You are lucky you're likable, Captain, Naruto said with a chuckle. Okay crew, let's rest up. For tomorrow morning, we head for where Crocodile is, Luffy said. Where is that? Naruto asked Vivi as he figured she would know. His main base of operations is in Rain Base, in the Rain Dinners Casino, Vivi said as she dried her eyes. The casino? I smell an opportunity, Naruto said with a smile as he rubbed his hands together. Oh geez, Will said with a chuckle as she had an idea what Naruto was thinking. We're gonna bankrupt a warlord of the sea. I'm in. Kurama yelled with a grin. How are you gonna do that? Steal all his money or something? Sanji asked with a beaked eyebrow. I'm gonna go in and gamble and keep winning, drawing attention to myself. Meanwhile, Will and Kurama will go into the back and steal all Crocodile's money, Naruto said with a smirk. Nami's eyes widened at this before she looked at Vivi. How much does Crocodile make with his casino? She asked calmly. On average. About 250 million berries a month, Vivi said. Oh, Naruto. Nami yelled with a smile as she was instantly next to Naruto and hugged his arm. Yes, Nami? Naruto asked with a smile. If you steal me some money, I'll go on a date with you, Nami said as she batted her eyelashes at him. Sanji looked at this in disbelief before he slumped to the ground. Why, Nami Swan? Why? He said with a cloud of depression over his head. Sorry bud, but it looks like you have to look for love somewhere else, Usopp said, patting Sanji on the shoulder. Are there women that desperate? Kurama asked with a raised eyebrow. So you're all gonna try and beat Crocodile? Toto asked with wide eyes at the crew. You bet, old-timer, Will said with a grin as she gave him a thumbs up. Toto smiled at this as some tears fell down his cheeks. Okay, let's all rest for the night. We have a fight tomorrow, Naruto said to the crew as he separated himself from Nami. Okay, women over here and you guys can fight for the other rooms, Nami said as she dragged Vivi to one of the better-looking houses. The guys all went to some houses nearby while Will locked eyes with Naruto and smirked as she gestured to the girl's house. Naruto smirked back at this and nodded, knowing what his girlfriend was thinking. Later with Nami. Nami and Vivi were in their room ready for bed and were laying down in their beds. I wonder where Will is, Vivi said as it had been half an hour since they all went to their rooms. Let's go find her, Nami said as she got up off her bed. Vivi nodded at this as she got up to follow Nami. As they left the room, they walked past a room that had its door ajar. Ah. Will's voice was heard moaning from inside the room. Nami and Vivi paused at this. You don't think? Vivi asked Nami as she blushed a little at the implications of what they heard. Nami said nothing as she approached the slightly open door and took a peek inside, which made her eyes widen while she blushed deep red. The next day. Everyone walked out of their houses, ready for the day. Morning everyone, Naruto said as he and Will walked out of their house. Everyone nodded at them, except for Nami and Vivi, who were blushing and avoiding looking at them. Kurama gave a slight sniff at Naruto and Will, then smirked at Nami and Vivi, knowing what was going on. Why do you two smell like sweat and shame? He asked. Naruto groaned at this, while Will rolled her eyes at the fox mink's immaturity. Huh? Chopper asked curiously, not understanding. Don't you dare, Will said with a glare at Kurama, who scoffed at this, while some of the other crew members realized what was going on. Naruto coughed into his fist at this. Okay everyone, let's get going, he said, as he readied himself to summon Gamakichi and his team again. Wait. I have a gift for you, Luffy. Toto yelled as he ran over holding a small barrel with a straw in his hands. Toto, did you spend all night digging for water for us? Vivi asked with a frown at the old man. Well, Luffy helped a little, Toto said with a slight shrug. So that's where you were, Zoro said as he looked at Luffy as Toto gave him the barrel. Make sure you save that for an emergency, Luffy, Naruto said as he summoned Gamakichi and his team. Sure thing, Luffy said with a nod as he used some rope to tie it round his neck. Okay, where are we heading? Gamakichi asked as Naruto and Will got on his back while Vivi went with Nami. Change of plans. We're gonna go after Crocodile and kick his bitch ass teeth in. Will yelled with a grin as she smiled. Yeah. Luffy yelled as he held up his arms in excitement as he and the others got on their toads. Now that's a plan. Gamakichi yelled with a grin as he and his fellow toads took off hopping. Toto smiled at this as he had a feeling the rain would return soon. Later. The crew and their toad steeds were making their way across the desert and soon they spotted a town in the distance. Is that it, Vivi? Will yelled over her shoulder at Vivi. Yes, that's Rain Base. And the big building in the middle is Crocodile's casino, Vivi said with a determined look. Okay Gamakichi, stop here. We can walk the rest of the way, Naruto said as he looked down at his summon. Gamakichi and the toads stopped just outside town and led everyone off. So what's the plan? Zoro asked curiously as he jumped off his toad. We kick Crocodile's ass. Luffy yelled. Bonk. We need a plan, you moron. Nami yelled as she hit Luffy on the head. But that is the plan. Find Crocodile, beat him up, and that should save Vivi's home, Luffy said, rubbing the bump Nami gave him. This is a warlord, Luffy. He's more dangerous than Arlong, and he was a fishman, Usopp said as he shivered a bit. Relax. I have a plan that should work and he won't even see it coming, Naruto said with a grin. Uh-oh, I smell a prank, Kurama said with a snicker as he recognized this look on his friend's face. Well, you know pranks are my specialty, Naruto said with a wide smile. Gamakichi laughed at this as he knew Naruto's pranks were legendary. Later. Naruto and the rest of the crew walked into the casino and saw that it was actually a very nice place. Not bad, Sanji said as he smoked his cigarette. Yay. Too bad it's run by a jackass, Will said as she looked around. Let's just find this asshole and kick some ass, Kurama said as he gripped his jit. Well, I'm surprised you all headed for here instead of going to the rebels, a female voice said. Everyone looked and saw a woman that was slightly older than Naruto who was dressed like a cowgirl. She was wearing a purple hat, a purple cleavage exposing corset along with a matching miniskirt, both which had wide ornaments hanging from them, and purple boots. Naruto looked at her and his eyes widened in surprise as he looked at her, but quickly composed himself. Hello. Will said with a grin as she checked out the woman. That's Miss All Sunday, Vivi said with a glare at the woman. Yay, so stop being a thirsty freak, Kurama said with a roll of his eyes. You're not gonna stop us from getting to Crocodile, Zoro said as he gripped his katana and glared at Miss All Sunday. Oh, on the contrary, Mr. Bushido. You're his special guests, Miss All Sunday said with a smile. She then pointed at a door in the back room. Just go through that door and follow the arrows, she said with a smile. Let's do this. Luffy yelled as he took off running. You idiot. It's obviously a trap. Nami and Usopp yelled as they and the others followed. Miss All Sunday chuckled at this before she noticed Naruto wasn't following. You're not following your friends? She asked with a raised eyebrow. I am. I'm just curious why you put on a fake facade of being happy when you're obviously not, Naruto said simply as he walked past her and followed his crew. Miss All Sunday froze at this before she watched Naruto, surprised he saw through her so easily, before she quickly composed herself, not noticing some shadowy figures running on the ceiling and heading for the vents of the building. But the crew. Luffy was running down a hallway with his crew behind him. Luffy was running towards a sign that pointed left that said VIPs this way. Left. Luffy yelled as he turned left. This so screams trap, Will said with a scowl. That's what happens when your captain is stupid, Kurama said with a scowl of his own as they all turned left with Luffy. And soon they reached a dead end. Huh? Chopper asked in confusion as he looked around. Is this for VIPs? Usopp asked curiously. Wait for it, Will said with a scowl as she saw what was coming. The floor underneath them all suddenly opened up and they all fell into the hole. I'm gonna kill you, Luffy. Nami yelled as they all fell for this obvious trap. And I'll help her. I'll even hide the body. Will yelled. They all fell into a new room in a pile. Naruto, Will and Kurama landed on their feet before they looked around and saw they were in a jail cell. "Welcome to my casino, princess," a voice said in an amused tone. Everyone saw a man sitting at a table with a beepy look on his face. His black hair was slicked back and he was wearing a large overcoat over a suit. They all saw that he had a hook where his left hand should be. "Crocodile," Vivi said with a growl as she glared at the warlord of the sea. "And you must be the pirates that took pity on the princess and decided to try and help her. It's too bad your adventures end here," Crocodile said with a grin at the crew. "Wow, you're a beepy funker, aren't you?" Kurama asked with a grin. "Well, I have you all trapped in a sea stone cell and you have nobody to save you. So I think me being beepy is warranted," Crocodile said with a shrug. Naruto smiled at this and laughed lightly before everyone else started to laugh with him. "And what do you find so humorous?" Crocodile asked with a raised eyebrow. "Oh, nothing really. I just didn't expect this to be so easy," Naruto said as he smiled. "It's been 10 minutes since we entered and everyone in the casino should be moved out by now," Will said with a grin. "What are you on about, woman?" Crocodile asked with a slight scowl. "Okay, quick question, you do know me and Usopp can fly, right?" Will asked. "Yay, Mr. 2 told me," Crocodile said, waving his hand dismissively. "So here's the question, jackass, why didn't me and Will fly away when you used that trapdoor trap?" Usopp asked with a grin. Crocodile paused at this as he thought about this. "You wanted to be here," he said as he glared at them. Naruto nodded at this as he and everyone else started to emit smoke from the top of their heads almost like a fuse. Crocodile's eyes widened at this as his prisoners all flashed brightly. Outside. Naruto and the others were outside the town, sitting in the sand while playing cards as they waited. "Are you sure this plan is gonna work?" Sanji asked as he took a fresh card. "Yay, I don't like the idea of doing this while the casino is filled with civilians," Vivi said with a nod as she looked a little worried. "Relax, princess. I sent some clones in to knock everyone out and drag them out," Will said as she took a new card. "And 3, 2, 1, Naruto said as he counted down and pointed at the casino. Boom. The casino blew up in a massive explosion, sending debris everywhere. "I hope that you got all that money out before you blew it up, Blondie," Nami said as she gave Naruto a piercing look. "I sent clones to do that, so don't worry," Naruto said as he got up. "I still say we should have confronted him ourselves," Luffy said with a pout as he crossed his arms. "Don't worry, rubber brain, you will get your fight," Kurama said with a grin as he pointed at the sky where what looked like sand was making its way to them. The sand soon formed into a body and turned into Crocodile, who was glaring at them with a look that could kill. So you do have a Loja power. I owe you a cola," Will Kurama said with a grin as everyone got ready to fight. "I'll paint the sands red with your blood for destroying my base," Crocodile growled out with a fierce glare. "Then let's do this," Luffy yelled as he launched himself at Crocodile. But when he clashed with him, he turned himself into sand, causing Luffy to almost stumble as he fell through Crocodile. Naruto made a hand sign and bit his thumb before he slammed his palm on the floor. Summoning Jutsu. A massive cloud of smoke engulfed the rest of the crew while Luffy was fighting Crocodile. When the smoke cleared, a large red toad with a blue coat, a katana in his webbed hands and a smoking pipe in his mouth was revealed. "About time you summoned me, brat," Gamabunta yelled with a booming voice before he blew some smoke out of his mouth. "Talk later, old man. I need you to get my friends out of here," Naruto yelled to the massive toad. "I am not gonna help you just like that, you brat." "Oh wow, he's so cool," Will yelled with a smile at the massive toad. "Yay, this guy is cool." Usopp and Chopper yelled together with smiles. "Fine. But I want sake later, brat," Gamabunta yelled, deciding he liked these guys as he chuckled. "Now that's my kinda toad," Zoro said with a grin. "Will, you know the plan. You get Vivi to her dad," Naruto said as he looked at his girlfriend. "You got it. I'll stick with Vivi and if anyone so much as looks at her wrong, I'll fry them," Will said as she gave him a thumbs up. Suddenly Crocodile was behind them with his torso turned into sand so he could fly up to them. "You won't escape me so easily," Crocodile was yelling. Crack. Before Kurama swung his jit at his face and sent him flying back to the ground below. "Let's do this, sand bitch. My brother has more street cred than you," Kurama yelled as he jumped down after the warlord. Naruto chuckled at this as he jumped after Kurama to help him. "Okay, hold on," Gamabunta yelled before he took off hopping away from the city. Naruto and Kurama landed on the ground and saw Crocodile picking himself up while wiping the side of his mouth, giving them a glare. Luffy was next to Naruto and Kurama and scowled at this. "How did you get a hit on him?" Luffy asked Kurama. "Sea stone, rubber boy," Kurama said as he held his jit with a smirk. Crocodile growled at this as he didn't expect new pirates to have sea stone weaponry. Okay everyone, stay alert and don't, Naruto was saying before he got cut off. Gum rocket. Luffy yelled as he launched himself at Crocodile, but this did nothing as Luffy went right through him. Looks like unless we can discover his weakness, we're gonna depend on you, Kurama, Naruto said with a scowl as he threw some kunai at Crocodile, which went right through him. Leave it to me. Kurama yelled as he charged at the warlord and swung his jit at him while covering it with electro. But he instantly dodged to the side and swung his hook at Kurama. Kurama blocked with his jit while Naruto ran to Luffy and pulled him out of the sand. DRRR, I really hate this guy. He's just like Smokey. Luffy yelled. Crocodile swung his hand at Luffy, sending what looked like a sand blade at him, but Luffy dodged, barely being touched by the attack. Ah, my leg. Luffy yelled as he saw one of his legs was now dried out like a mummy. Punk, Naruto growled as he glared at Crocodile and charged at him. Crocodile readied his hand to fire another attack at Naruto. But the sand in his hand vanished right before Naruto slugged him in the face. Heh, got you moron, Kurama said with a fanged grin as he was revealed to be behind Crocodile, holding his jit onto Crocodile's back, causing him to not be able to turn into sand. Crocodile growled at this as he swung his hook at Kurama, which caused him to jump back, giving the warlord his powers back. You're getting annoying, Mink, Crocodile growled out. Good, then I'm doing my job, punk ass, Kurama said with a grin. Yeah, cause he does love to annoy people, Naruto said with a nod as he threw kunai at Crocodile. Gum Gatling, Luffy yelled as he ran over while throwing rapid punches at Crocodile. Crocodile just turned into sand and took the attacks like they were nothing. When Luffy stopped, he jumped back to Naruto's side. How did you fix your leg? Naruto asked him curiously. I drank some of the water Toto gave me, Luffy said simply, holding up the small barrel. Naruto and Kurama paused at this as their eyes widened slightly before Kurama started to laugh while Naruto smiled as they both realized something. So that's your weakness, Naruto said with a confident grin at the warlord. Well, it does make sense if you think about it, Kurama said with a snicker. Okay, I'll give us the opening and you two lay a beatdown on him, Naruto said with a grin as he went into sage mode and made some hand signs. You got it. Let's kick his ass, Kurama. Luffy yelled as he readied his fists. I'm right behind ya, Kurama said as he readied his jit. Naruto jumped into the air and took a deep breath before he opened his mouth and unleashed a huge torrent of water down on Crocodile. Crocodile's eyes widened at this as he was engulfed by the wave of water. When the water subsided, Crocodile was coughing out some water while soaking wet. How is this, he was coughing out before Luffy slugged him in the gut, making him keel over. Water plus electricity equals bad news. Kurama yelled out as he swung the electro-charged jit at Crocodile's face. Yag. Crocodile yelled as he was engulfed in electricity, which was worse since he was covered in water. When the electricity subsided, Crocodile was smoking as he was still standing, but was on his last legs after such an assault. This is impossible. How can I lose to unknown pirates? Crocodile growled out as he tried to stay on his feet. Naruto then grabbed him by his throat as his Rinnegan eyes were activated. You have a good devil for it, you'll take it, Naruto said with a glare as he grabbed Crocodile's chest as his hand glowed. Oh shit. You must have pissed him off, Kurama said with a grin. What's he doing? Luffy asked curiously as he was unaffected by the electricity. He's gonna rip out his soul, Kurama said simply as he knew Crocodile had pissed Naruto off by hurting this country. He can do that, Luffy yelled in surprise. Crocodile growled at this as he tried to pull away from Naruto. But with a mighty pull, Naruto pulled back and ripped out the warlord's soul. As Naruto held his soul in his hand, he saw what looked like a cactus with swirls on it fall from the soul onto the ground before Naruto let go of the soul and let it fade into nothing. Crocodile's dead body then fell to the sand. Naruto sighed at this, he powered down out of sage mode before he looked to the side and spotted Miss All Sunday approaching them. So you actually beat him. I'm surprised, she said as she approached them. Are you here to avenge him? Kurama asked, holding his weapon in case she attacked. Miss All Sunday chuckled at this as she shook her head. Of course not. I have no chance against a man that can rip out someone's soul. What fruit is that, if I may ask? She asked Naruto. Not a fruit. It's more of a sage power, Naruto said. Yay, he's a sage ninja, Luffy said with a nod while smiling widely as he crossed his arms. Interesting, Miss All Sunday said as she observed Naruto with a calculating look. Are you looking to fight or jump on him like a stalker or something? Kurama asked with a snicker before an arm appeared on his shoulder and smacked him in the back of his head. Hey. What the funk? Kurama yelled as he looked around for who hit him. Cool. Luffy yelled with a smile as he saw this. So what do you want, Miss All Sunday? Naruto asked curiously as he picked up the sand fruit. Well, since you all killed my boss, and from what I can tell you're gonna clean up the rest of Baroque works, I have nowhere to go now, and I am wanted by the government, Miss All Sunday said nonchalantly with a shrug. Naruto thought about this for a moment and then looked at Luffy. Kurama, you stay here. Me and Luffy need to talk, he said, as he pulled Luffy to the side. What's going on? Luffy asked curiously, as Naruto pulled him to the side. I think you should ask her to join your crew, Naruto said seriously. Huh? Why? Luffy asked curiously, as he tilted his head in confusion. Several reasons actually. She seems to be smart and she has information we may need for our adventures. Plus, information is always useful, Naruto said, as he knew as a ninja, information was sometimes the most valuable. Luffy tilted his head at this, as he looked back at Miss All Sunday curiously. Plus, I think she could use some actual friends, Naruto said, as he felt while Miss All Sunday put on a good front with her emotions, her eyes said differently to him. Okay. Hey Miss Sunday. You have nowhere to go, right? Luffy yelled, as he ran over to her and Kurama. Indeed I don't, thanks to you, Miss All Sunday said with a nod. Luffy smiled and giggled at this. Oh god, Kurama groaned, as he could tell what was coming. Join my crew. Luffy yelled at Miss All Sunday, as he smiled widely. Miss All Sunday raised an eyebrow at this and laughed lightly at this. Very well. You're the best option I have at the moment. I offer my services to you and your crew, she said, as she nodded and bowed her head. Ooh, kinky, Kurama said with a snicker, before again an arm appeared on his shoulder and smacked him. Oi. Cut that shit out. If you're gonna join, we should know your name, Naruto said with a chuckle at Kurama. The name's Nico Robin, Robin said with a smile. Pretty name, Naruto said after a brief pause and a nod. Robin nodded at this. Okay, since you all have business at the capital, I'll meet you back at your ship, she said, as she walked away. Tell the dugongs you're friendly. Luffy yelled after her. Robin chuckled at this as she nodded, finding it funny that this crew kept kung fu dugongs as pets. That woman is annoying, Kurama growled as he rubbed his head. I don't know. I kinda like that she doesn't take your shit, Naruto said with a grin. Please, you just like she's an E-cup, Kurama said with a scoff. Oh, shut up. We need to get to the others and help clean up the capital, Naruto said, as he summoned Gamakichi to give them a ride, with Naruto picking up Crocodile's body and sealing it into a scroll. Meanwhile, above them what looked like rain clouds were forming above them before it started to rain. Looks like beating the sorry excuse of a sandmaster brought the rain back, Kurama said with a grin, as Gamakichi hopped off to the capital. What are you gonna do with Crocodile's fruit? Luffy asked Naruto curiously. Naruto thought about this, as he had an idea, but he wasn't sure yet. So this part ends here. Alright, that's it for today's video, guys. Let me know in the comments section how was the story, and also don't forget to like, share and subscribe. I will meet you in another video, bye bye.